Hi, everybody.
Hello, everybody. Glad to see y'all.
Yeah, thanks for joining us.
I'm going to hit record on my
Captain Nick will be with
DAW.
us momentarily.
Yeah,
If you like where he's broadcasting from, that lovely place where he is, isn't that beautiful?
it's beautiful.
Beautiful. It's just beautiful.
Uh-huh. What? Oh, uh-oh.
What happened there?
I knocked my microphone for Unity over and it hit the button rim shot.
That's kind of
Perfect.
funny. Yeah,
How'd
absolutely
that happen?
perfect.
I didn't plan that.
Mm.
I was going to adjust my noise assist to kind of cut down on that noise.
Actually, Tanya, that's a picture of, he'll be talking about it in his Getting to Know Us. He and his group of instructors went on a little trip this week, and that was one of the places that they stayed.
Oh, I need to get that.
Hi, Jim Fulton.
Jim Fulton. We got some feedback from Jim Fulton.
We got some audio feedback from Mr. Fulton. Yes, we do.
Cover art is 581. I'm going to open that up in preview so I can zoom in and stuff.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
You don't want to have a devil of a time trying to do that.
Oh, that's so clever.
I should be having some deviled eggs. All right, where's Nick gone? Come on, man. Come on, man.
Yeah, come on, man. We
Come
got
on,
that. We got
man.
that somewhere. I don't know.
Pardon me.
Nope. Used to. Yep. Gonna go back this way and hit that and then go like that.
Come on, man.
Come on, man.
That's what NODAMs are. They're just a bunch of garbage.
Just a bunch of garbage.
Srivijaya.
One of my favorites. I always think of you guys saying trash instead of garbage. I thought trash was the way you talked about garbage down there.
Well,
in
we
the
say
US.
trash and garbage. We just don't say rubbish.
We don't use trash up here.
Well, I can see why. You're kind of sensitive to that. I don't know. I'm not really sure what that means.
I don't know, but I laughed anyway.
Good.
Tried to make you feel good about it.
Appreciate that. That's why I love my daughter Natalie, because she laughs at my jokes. I think I went out to dinner with her between the last show and this show.
You did last Friday night, I think.
Friday night, yeah.
I think we did the show on Thursday, didn't? No, Wednesday.
Wednesday, yeah.
Wednesday, that's right. And then Steffi took off for her run. Yeah.
She went running up there in Cape Cod.
Cape Cod, where all the beautiful people go for the summer.
Okay, he's indisposed for a little bit longer.
Yes, a few minutes. That's okay.
Yeah, no problem.
So we're going to try and do around 3 hours today, Jeffrey?
Yeah, or maybe a little less,
I was listening
between 2.5 and 3.
Okay. I was listening to Toronto Air Traffic Control sometime recently, and a guy, I think it was an American Airlines pilot, he sounded just like when you and I are talking like that when he checked in. Hi, Toronto arrival. This is American.
I just read something about their new contract. I think it was like 1 mile at a time, or one of those blogs where they talked about their new contract at American. Now they go ahead for all the first class upgrades and stuff ahead of all the like multi-zillion milers.
Oh,
yeah, they're not going to like that.
Jim Fulton is having, along with the podcast, he's having South Indian garlic chicken, yum, and Brewdog Speedbird OG, which I think means old git.
Old git.
I think it means
original. Or it can mean original.
Original gangster.
Gangsta, yeah.
Yeah.
At least that's what it means over here in North America.
It is what it means.
OG. The OG.
Like sort of like old school, kind of.
Yeah. Kind of like the Coffee Fund OG.
Right. You are correct.
Hi, you all from Ralph Nausk. Ralph Nausk.
Mm-hmm.
It's an interesting name.
So you're not in this extreme heat area, are you, Jeff? Like where Nick Camacho's in that having terrible heat?
No, it's higher there, but let's see. We've been getting up to about 93, 94.
Boy. And humid? Very humid?
Yeah. I've felt more humid weather here than this.
Right.
Maybe I'm just getting used to it. Maybe I'm just getting used to it. Right now we're 91. Supposed to get up 93 today. Does it talk about the
93.
humidity? It doesn't really talk about the humidity.
It's
on
kind
this
of
thing.
nice and cool here. It's only 19 here at the moment, which is nice.
Cool. That
Yeah,
is
it is.
nice.
It
It's
is.
like 67.
Nice and fresh.
Something like that. Yeah.
Fresh. Sorry, folks, we will get underway, but we're just waiting for Captain
Well,
Nick
it's
to
good because I can
rejoin.
maybe pay attention to a couple of things that I usually forget to do, like get videos ready and that kind of thing. So,
Well, that's true. Don't forget to start your recorder at some point.
The recorder's already going.
Oh, well, there you go. Good, good.
Let's see what else. What's another one? Embraer. I got that one. I got video. Private jet crashes into. Oh yeah, that one in Indonesia, Malaysia. Do that. Number 2.
Yeah, we got a lot of interesting news stuff today for sure. A lot of stuff going on. Lindsay McNeil. Hi, Lindsay McNeil. Feels like 115 in Chicago. Whoa.
Lindsay, I think you came to that meetup we had up there in Chicago a few years back. If I'm
Srijaya.
think that's-
Srijaya. Jim Fulton's practicing his Srijaya.
Oh, okay. Let me see if I can help him out. I don't have Swearjaya there. No, I need to be over here then, like this.
Srivijaya.
Srijaya, the way she says it.
Srivijaya.
Srijaya.
Srivijaya.
Srivijaya.
And so it has to be a sing-song thing too. Srijaya.
Srivijaya. Okay, guys, guys and gals? How is the volume?
The levels?
On Radio Roger.
You're listening to the Airline Pilot Guy Show.
The view from our side of the cockpit door.
WAPG. It's the Airline Pilot Guy.
Airline Pilot Guy, episode 582.
No need to yell, Roger.
He's one of those not soft-spoken New Yorkers. He speaks
Yeah.
kind of loudly.
Of course, it may have something to do with the fact the way I mixed it on the music bed. It's not really his fault.
So it's your fault. I see.
Yeah, I'm sure it's always my fault. Sorry. Just want to, before we start, I just want to say I'm sorry.
You're actually an honorary Canadian, aren't you? Because we're known for saying we're sorry all the time.
I know. You're. It's the whole thing's rubbing off on me, so
That's
so
right.
to speak.
I
That's
know.
what she said.
That's what she said.
I like the fact that in our feedback, who was it that said that he picked up on my little joke when?
Yes.
And I'm thinking, gosh, I'm glad somebody heard that.
Well, I heard it, I think. I thought I did.
Stanimal.
Stanimal. That's right. It was Stanimal.
Well, yeah, Nick didn't hear me because he was so focused on what he was saying. So that's the
right.
difference between Nick and I. I don't focus on what I'm saying.
Yeah, that shows.
I'm really not sure what's coming out of
You
my
don't have
mouth.
to tell us that, Jeff. We
I
figured
know.
that out.
No, thanks. Appreciate that.
Mhm.
Oh, and we're using our new comms
Back channel.
software, back channel, back talk
And
back.
hardware, software and hardware. I
Mhm.
mean, not new to you, but new to Nick and I.
Yep.
So Steffi's at work, Camacho's busy, and Rick's off in the nether regions flying his big aircraft. So
I'd like to be in the Netherlands.
in the Netherlands, yeah.
No, no. Oh,
Mm.
you're thinking
Nick
like
only
world
hears
geography
Airbus
here,
stuff,
not
yeah.
human geography.
I think he listens to the Boeing stuff, Jim, and is always getting ready to make a quip when we're talking about Boeing. He's listening and just getting ready to pounce on it.
Yep. But that's all right. I have my BS flag ready.
Well, I have a new thing too. Did
Oh,
you
do
see
you?
this? Yeah. Well, I can share it now, just in case
Okay.
you get into some BS. Let me see if I can find it now. Here we go. Oh, Oh. You got to move it up.
It's working great.
There it is.
Ah, it's backwards.
I know. You have to work to figure it out.
That's good.
Yeah. You go.
His BS stamp.
Mm-hmm.
And I have I know it's hard to see because my microphone's covering it up. I got my Acme shirt on.
I know. You were commenting how many people had their Acme shirts on and that,
that was
picture up
touching.
at Oshkosh. That was cool.
Yeah, I think that we got that in the GTKU.
Uh-huh. Oh, I watched OMIB today.
Oh, I watched it on Tuesday.
Yeah,
What'd you think?
It's kind of weird, that whole white room thing.
Yeah,
Anybody else out there watching Only Murders in the Building?
it's on
Yeah.
Hulu here in the States. I don't know what it
On
is.
Disney
up
Plus
there.
over here.
Disney Plus.
Plus. Yeah.
You know what?
What? Shall we start?
No, I'm just looking at. I was distracted by Jim's description of what he's eating and drinking, and that
You're
I thought,
hungry.
"Ooh,
I don't see that picture in our GTK.
Oh, maybe I didn't put it in there. Oh well, then we could skip that.
Okay.
It was just a nice
Yeah. Oops.
photo of the. You know what I
Okay.
could do? I could probably open that up in preview. Let's see. Go over here to Evernote. Go over here to Getting to Know Us. Double click on it. There we go.
You better
And then
get.
I'm going to do this. And I'm going to go like this. And I'm going to go full screen. And I'm going to go like over here to StreamYard. Where's StreamYard? Where'd you go? I know you're over here somewhere. Here it is. And then I'm going to go present, share screen, and window. And then I'm going to go like this. Where'd it go? Oh, I can't find it. That's not good. I guess that means I can't go full screen until I share it. And then I can go full screen. It's just so complicated, Liz.
It's very complicated, Jeff. I'm getting a headache here.
It could be just me.
Could be. Jim is saying that Speedbird OG beer is specially formulated so that it's optimized for drinking at flight level 350.
Like Sweetwater Brewing here in Atlanta did the same kind of thing. They made a special formulation to, I don't know, it just tastes pretty much the same to me.
I was just going to say, could you taste any different?
Yeah. I mean, it was good, but it was good on the ground too.
Most of the time when you're at flight level 350, you're not really able to drink, right?
Not usually, not when I'm up in the cockpit.
Not that you're going to admit to.
If it's not my leg, sure. Why not? It doesn't matter. No, it does matter. Sorry, just kidding. Okay, where'd it go? Here we go. Yay.
There it is. That's a great picture.
It is.
I think you were still on the road or just going to get your credentials then.
Yeah, I was close.
Yeah.
But no cigar.
You're on final.
Yep. Okay, I need to remove that. And I need to remove that.
Sorry, everybody, for the wait, but we'll get going.
Don't apologize. You just can't help yourself.
I can't. It's
'Cause you're
just
Canadian.
it's in our genes.
Speaking of that.
Sweet Jaya.
Oh.
He's back.
Yay.
There he is. Hi,
Hi,
Captain.
folks.
Hello.
Yeah, sorry about that, everyone. I've had a
No.
bit of an attack, so I don't know how long it'll be before I can be guaranteed to fart and not
That's
poop.
fine.
I think that you're in latched talk mode in Unity, Nick. Maybe.
No.
No.
Oh no, I probably forgot to mute StreamYard. You might want to exclude that.
Oh yeah, because I was listening in StreamYard and then I heard you in Unity as well. So.
Oh, I did both. Damn. Got to get used to this.
Yep, you gotta
Hi,
mute.
UH
Just don't
Black
talk
Hawk.
in Unity. Just listen.
Yeah, indeed.
Okay.
All righty. Are we ready to rock and roll?
I thought we
I
might
certainly am now. Fingers crossed.
Okay.
Very good.
Just do what you got to do, Nick.
Well, within reason.
Well, not on camera.
Yeah. All righty.
Okay.
I'll try not to.
Are you? Well, you don't need to worry about recording, sir, because we are recording on StreamYard.
Okay.
And so I think that Radio Roger, it's his chance to shine.
Here we go.
You're listening to the Airline Pilot Guy Show.
The view from our side of the cockpit door.
WAPG. It's the Airline Pilot Guy.
Airline Pilot Guy, episode 582.
Yeah, he's up in the sky. It's the Airline Pilot Guy.
Hello, you're listening to the Airline Pilot Guy Show, the view from our side of the cockpit door, with your host, Captain Jeff, broadcasting live from Studio 1A at APG headquarters in Roswell, Georgia. Today's show is recorded on the 24th of August, 2023.
Yeah, he's up in the sky. It's the Airline Pilot Guy. Picture light and he's flying by with the Airline Pilot Guy.
In today's episode, a helicopter pilot flees after a crash, leaving behind injured passengers. A United Airlines pilot attacks an airport parking lot gate with an axe. More news and your feedback. So get all settled in. Tray tables and seat backs in the upright and locked positions. Electronic devices powered on. I'm Radio Roger, and Flight 582 is ready for pushback.
Thank you, Radio Roger Stern. He's an award-winning TV and radio reporter, currently at the #1 all-news station in the nation, 1010 Winds on 92.3 FM in
New York City.
In the morning, you APGers out there around the world. Welcome to the Airline Pilot Guy Show, the most, I'm not going to say that anymore. We are just one of the many great aviation podcasts out there, we think anyway. And we cover the latest in aviation news, and we answer your great feedback. I'm Captain Jeff, pilot at a major legacy airline based in the United States. And joining me today from his studio,
in Hartford, Hereford, and Hampshire,
professional photographer, former RAAF fighter pilot, retired Airbus A330, A340 captain for Virgin Atlantic Airways. It's Captain Nick.
Hello there, Jeff. Lovely to be back on the show. And let's hope it's a nice, smooth one, so long as my digestive system doesn't get in the way.
Okay. Hopefully it settles down. And great to see you, sir. And also joining us from her studio in Toronto, Ontario, Canada, retired financier, aviation enthusiast, spreadsheet master, and our producer, it's Liz Piper.
Hi, everybody. There's a touch of fall in the air here now. It's a little chilly, but it's nice. I'm liking it.
Yeah, rub it in.
Excellent.
It's hot here. I don't know what it's like in England. What is it like in England, sir?
Oh, low 20s. Very pleasant.
Oh, very
Nice.
nice.
Bit of
Have a
rain.
good show, you guys.
Cheers, Liz.
Okay. We'll hear you in the control room, hopefully. And let's go ahead and dive right into the aviation news. I hears you.
stand by for news.
All right, we're going to start off with kind of relatively breaking news. This just happened yesterday. An Embraer Legacy 600 jet crashed in Russia, and not a lot of information about this crash yet. The Embraer EMB 135BJ Legacy 600, owned by, supposedly, the Wagner Group, which is has involvement in the conflict over in that area of the world, and have some video I'd like to play of the airplane basically just dropping out of the sky. Here we go. You see and hear I'm not sure if the jet engines that we're hearing are coming from this Legacy 600 or not. and it's basically we're looking at a cloud. There we go. Now we see the jet falling from the sky. It
Пиздец, это
appears
беспилотник. Сбили,
exactly.
бабахнуло 2 раза, взорвалось, падает.
Liz,
Ты
would you stop
посмотри,
talking in
падает.
Russian? It's hard for me to understand what I'm trying to say here. Oh, wait a minute. No, that's the video. Okay. Let me lower the volume on that. Yeah, so the thing kind of just
Где,
in a
блядь,
very
бабахнет?
flat,
Куда упал? Вон тут
almost like a
куски
flat
летят.
spin, sort of, coming out of the sky, and then it
Где-то, блядь,
crashes.
упал.
And
Хуя дым
I'll
пошел
stop
какой.
the video, and then Liz, if you'll show the slides that I have in there regarding the tail section. They say the reports are that the tail section fell apart from or away from the main aircraft wreckage, and obviously these are photos taken from some kind of a Russian site called 112, which they kind of put there on the photos just so they get credit. Yeah, the copyright. Anyway, we're using them for news, and so there's the picture of the tail. I can't tell from these photos, Nick, if it does look like some kind of damage to the metal of the vertical stab, but I don't know, or is that just like foliage that we're looking at there? If you can go backwards one, Liz, maybe see if that's I can't really tell from this angle.
It's folded. Leading edge is sort of folded over a bit, but
Yeah,
it's not what I would describe as classic shrapnel damage
Okay.
that you might expect from a missile. It
Mhm.
depends, of course, on the type of missile, but so it looks like it was in reasonable condition when it broke free, but why it broke, I mean, there are suggestions that he was shot down, but we've no
Yeah.
real evidence for that yet.
Yeah, I was thinking that as Lindsay is saying in our live audience, an internal explosion is suspected. So I guess something that would be up in that area of the tail section or in the very aft part of the aircraft that would have taken care of that, I would imagine.
Yeah, I'm guessing if there is an internal explosion, it depends entirely where it is, what kind of speed they were doing. So having blown up, say, a big hole in the side of the aircraft, how much the structure would be capable of withstanding. So much conjecture, but of course we've all heard the news, the situation that occurred a few months ago when the Wagner Group apparently started to march on Moscow, and that all looked a bit nasty for the government or the president anyway. So this might possibly be a little bit of payback, or it might have just been an unfortunate accident.
Yeah. Really not sure. There's a lot of interesting things happening in that, as I said, of that part of the world. But I just wanted to mention it because it is aviation related, and at this point we
for
don't
sure.
know, if this is a shoot down or an internal explosion or just something that happened to occur in that area of the world that may have occurred anywhere else. Oh, yes.
Liz is suggesting someone might have had my problem, a little bit of digestive.
Some
issue.
explosive issues.
Yes.
Yeah. All right. I guess we can remove that, ma'am. And so just wanted to mention that was something that was new in the aviation news channels. And I'm sure we'll hear more about that as time goes on, or maybe we will, maybe we won't. I don't know. We can move on to the next item in the news. It's an update on our wrinkly airplane that was actually our cover art a couple of shows ago. All the wrinkles. What was the name of that? What's another wrinkle or something? Yeah, what's more wrinkles or something like that. Anyway, and it involves the United 767-300 that had a very firm touchdown in Houston, Intercontinental, IAH. On August 19, 2023, the NTSB released their preliminary report. The flight crew reported that the first officer was a pilot flying and the captain was a pilot monitoring. Well, there you go. It was the FO flying. What else do you need to know? No, I'm just kidding.
Poor FO.
I'm just kidding. The departure from Newark and the cruise segment of the flight was uneventful. Upon arrival at Houston Intercontinental Airport, they were cleared for the Doobie 2 arrival and the ILS 26 left approach. According to the flight crew, the airplane was fully configured for landing on speed and in compliance with the company's stable approach criteria, and the initial touchdown on the main wheels was normal. And then it kind of went south from there. The FO stated that after the main landing gear touchdown, he held aft pressure on the control yoke to keep the nose wheel from hitting the runway. However, the nose wheel made contact with abnormal force. The airplane appeared to bounce, and he reacted by pulling aft on the control yoke in an effort to keep the nose wheel from impacting the runway a second time. Subsequently, the speed brakes deployed, the auto brakes engaged, which resulted in a second bounce of the nose wheel. He deployed the thrust reversers, and the airplane began to decelerate. The captain assumed control of the airplane, and the remainder of the landing rollout was normal with no risk of runway overrun or excursion. A preliminary review of the flight data recorder revealed that after the initial touchdown on both mains, the aircraft rolled to the left, and the right main gear actually lifted up off of the runway surface. Subsequently, the nose wheel touched down with a gravitational force equivalent to about 1.4 G and bounced. The speed brakes deployed. The nose wheel impacted the runway a second time with a force of 1.6 G, followed by another bounce. The right thrust reverser deployed. The nose wheel impacted the runway again with a force of about 1.6 G, followed by the deployment of the left thrust reverser. Post-accident examination of the airplane revealed substantial damage to the crown of the upper fuselage. And just as we showed in the previous episode, looking at that damage, it's hard for me to believe that that's going to be something that they're going to be able to fix. That looks like a complete
Yeah, I
hull
think
loss
they'll
to me.
just get a Rick with a bit of his ironing expertise,
Oh,
and he'll get up there and iron that flat, I think, without any problem.
yeah, I think that that might be something. I mean, that would definitely be extreme ironing.
Oh,
if you
definitely.
ask me.
Yes, indeed.
There's an example of that extreme ironing right there.
Yep, look
he
at
has
him taking the wrinkles out of that.
Hey, Rick, speak up a little bit. We can't hear you. No.
Oh, don't
no,
know if
we
he's got
can't
his
hear him.
mic turned on.
No, he thinks the microphone's on, but it's muted, I think.
Uh,
No, we can't hear you. Oh, well. We're going to go ahead and
There's a lot of steam.
let him get back to the
He's a
task at hand.
steaming great pilot.
He is. And let's see. Anything else to say other than
Well,
wow?
I've
That
heard
was
of
hard.
people landing nose wheel first and sort of wheelbarrowing, which leads into a bit of a PIO between nose wheel and main wheel. And I've heard of people landing very heavily, causing the aircraft to bounce, leave the runway, and they usually, sometimes these situations occur when they overcorrect, try to keep the airplane down, and then they end up in this nose wheel, main wheel, bounce, nose wheel, main wheel, bounce, getting progressively worse. But this sounded, it's always suggested that if you've got a nice stable approach, it will generally lead to a nice landing. And it seemed like this was the situation. They were flying a stable approach. They had everything sort of in the box. It all looked good, and including the main landing gear touched down, and it appeared to be normal. So I'm trying to work out what on earth was occurring with both, with the controls to cause this really quite substantial problem.
I was thinking that it must have to do with the fact that the winds were just like crazy high winds and whatever. And so we can see here the METARs from the time frame, 150 at 3 knots, 220 at 5 knots. Not a lot of
pretty
wind.
crazy. Yeah.
So I don't know.
So it sounds like rather than just letting the wheel settle and just gently allowing the airplane to derotate or helping it if it doesn't look like it's going to, he made an inappropriate push with the control column, or an inappropriate pull in one case. So I'm not sure.
Nope.
Really not sure.
Well, that's just the preliminary report, so we'll have to wait and see what they come up with next. All right. Wow. Talking about a crash and run. That's what we have here. Canada. There you go.
Well, that explains everything.
Yeah. A helicopter crash investigation has turned into a manhunt in rural British Columbia after the pilot of a Robinson R-44 left 3 injured passengers at the scene of the accident. That's not nice. According to Castanet, the Royal Canadian Mounted Police are now looking for the pilot with his passengers, while his passengers recover in local hospitals near Enderby, BC, about 200 miles northeast of Vancouver. The helicopter crashed August 12th in a shallow section of the Shuswap River, Shuswap, about 20 miles east of Enderby, after apparently hitting a power line. The initial investigation determined 4 people were on board the helicopter when it crashed into the riverbed. 3 of the individuals were transported to the hospital with what are believed to be non-life-threatening injuries. One person, believed to be the pilot, left the scene in a vehicle prior to the arrival of emergency personnel and remains unaccounted for. And sadly, also a small dog that was on the helicopter was later found dead. Oh, a Chihuahua. They are small dogs. Anyway, the pilot is apparently notorious in the area for his low-level flights in the R-44. He has not been officially identified by the police, but numerous witnesses have come forth saying they saw him flying the helicopter at low altitude over the river and in other locations in the area, which is a mix of farmland and forest. An hour before the crash, a resident snapped a photo of the helicopter landing on the roof of a building on top of a hydroelectric dam, which I believe is what we're showing right now in our video. The helicopter has a U.S. registration, November 7529 Mike, and was last registered to Quicksilver Air in Fairbanks, Alaska. That registration was canceled on July 6 when the aircraft was sold to a Canadian owner, but it does not appear to have been added to the Canadian registry. So an unregistered, I'm wondering if the pilot of this thing actually is a licensed, certified pilot for this helicopter. I don't know. So not very, I guess he had a reason to leave the scene of the accident, right? I mean, you would think that, they would stay there and render aid to his friends. I don't know if they're friends or not, but
unless there was a very good reason he didn't want to stick around.
Yeah.
Yeah. You have your thoughts, don't you? I wonder if he was qualified, licensed, or whether he felt he would be held responsible for the accident, this might add to his problems.
It seems to me that that being not a heavily populated area, and obviously the statement that he was notorious to a lot of people that lived up in the area, I think they know who this person is, and I'm not sure how far he thinks he's going to get, before they catch up with him. Yeah, so we'll have to.
Oh yeah, indeed. I wonder if he was the owner of the helicopter. I mean, they're not cheap pieces of kit.
I don't know.
Oh.
Well, why don't we look up the Canadian registration? Oh, never mind. It's not registered.
Yeah,
tough. Yeah. We'll try to keep our eyes and ears open, see if we find out anything more regarding that story. This is a sad one. A pilot collapses and dies in the lavatory of a Boeing 787. It was a commercial flight from Miami to Chile, prompting an emergency landing in Panama on Sunday night, according to sources on board the airplane. Ivan Andor, 56 years old, was at the helm of the Santiago-bound LATAM Airlines flight around 11
Jeff,
p.m.
just remind me, where's the helm of an airplane? I can't quite remember.
I think it's somewhere near the keel. I'm not sure. It might. I'm not sure. I think they mean he was the captain. I think that's what they're trying to say. But they're trying to use some ship language, I guess. Yeah, he was flying that sucker.
So. Just wondering.
Yeah. He suffered an apparent cardiac arrest. His two co-pilots were forced to make an emergency landing at Tucumán International Airport in Panama City as a nurse and two doctors on board rushed to save him, the paper reported, the Sun, I think. Unfortunately, we did not have the necessary or sufficient supplies to perform a good resuscitation, said the nurse, who was identified only as Isadora on social media. LATAM needs to improve the issue of protocol in case of health and medical emergencies like this, where lives can be saved, but the resources are needed. I wonder if that means they didn't have one of those defibrillators on board the airplane. I would imagine they would. I don't know if they're required to or not. I guess maybe that is something that's regulated by Chile's certifying and regulatory agency, whatever that is. So perhaps they're not required to have it. Anyway, the article continues. It wasn't immediately clear what resources she was referring to. One passenger said a co-pilot asked if there were any doctors on the plane about 40 minutes after takeoff. And yeah, so it looks like there's some pictures here. I think maybe you've already shown some of them, Liz, where one of them shows him. Apparently, he was in the Chilean Air Force, because it looks like there's a snapshot of him wearing a helmet and oxygen mask. Looks like he's wearing a flight suit. So just based on that photo alone, I'm thinking that he may have been a former military pilot before he started flying for LATAM. The article continues, they told us that they were going to land because the pilot felt sick, and when we arrived, they asked us to evacuate the plane because the situation had worsened, said a passenger who was not identified. Looks like LATAM booked the passengers into hotels in Panama City, and then they resumed the flight on Tuesday. According to the airline, all the necessary protocols were followed during the flight to safeguard the life of the affected pilot. Unfortunately, after landing and receiving further medical assistance, the pilot passed away. LATAM is deeply saddened by this event and takes this opportunity to express our most sincere condolences to the family of our employee. And we here at the APG do as well. Rest in peace, Captain.
Absolutely. It's always sad to lose one of our own. I would hope that it wasn't a case of they couldn't be bothered to put defibs on their aircraft, but but then again, not every heart attack can be resuscitated, and sometimes it needs additional drugs, which you are perhaps less likely to have on an airplane compared with a hospital or an ambulance. So that might be the situation. We can't speculate too much, I'm afraid, but very sad that he lost his life doing, I guess, what he loved. He looks like he's a pretty adventurous sort of guy. I love his motorcycle. Yep. And is obviously a well-qualified pilot, and they're in short supply.
They are. And here's another, let's see, let's fast forward into the future when we don't have any, or we only have one pilot on board. If he were the one pilot on board, it would not have worked out well. Just thought I'd throw that in. Okay. Let me set up this video here. Oops. Didn't know it was going to start playing immediately. Let me back it up a little bit. Okay. Let's continue with this next item. A private jet crashes on the outskirts of Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia's capital and largest city, killing all 8 people on board and 2 people on the ground. Pardon me? Oh, cool. All right. So let me hit play here, and let's see this video here, and look how close it got to this vehicle that had the dash cam going. Horrifying moment. A private jet crashed and exploded into a fireball in Malaysia. Look at pieces are flying all over the place. Plane nosedived onto the tarmac. And yep, that's what, yeah, I just read that. Tragically, all 8 passengers and crew members and 2 motorists were also killed when the plane smashed into the highway. That's a shame. The cause of the crash
that's pretty dramatic, isn't it?
It is. I think later in this video, Nick, they're going to show, up in the upper center there, boom, it kind of slams down, and I think the video slows it down a little bit. We show that again. By the way, this is from the Mail, MAIL online, UK news source. And here we go. Boom.
That's a pretty dramatic attitude he was in.
Yes, it was. No telling what caused that. I'm wondering if it was just they got too slow and they stalled the jet or something, and they came down because they weren't.
Yep.
I think the story says that they were, coming in for landing, and they had already received landing clearance, so
Wow.
they're pretty close to the airport.
Yep.
Yeah. A person on a motorcycle and another in a car were on the ground, and they were killed by the crash. Yeah. So I don't know. Hopefully, we'll hear what went on here, how they got themselves into this situation.
Yep.
Okay.
No idea.
Nope. Okay. I'll give me a chance to. Let's see, I'm going to remove this video, and I'm going to add yet another. We're burning right through these things. Yeah, open. There we go. Okay. The next item in our news is this from the Aviation Herald. An Alaska Airlines Boeing 737-800 registration November 516 Alpha Sierra, performing flight 1288 from Seattle, Washington to Santa Ana, California, John Wayne, landed on Santa Ana's runway 20 right at 23:14 local time, so kind of late, 11:14 p.m. on August 21st. Touchdown hard, causing the left main gear strut being punched through the left wing. The aircraft came to a stop on the runway and was disabled. There were no injuries. The aircraft sustained substantial damage, however. Let me reread that sentence. There were no injuries, and the aircraft sustained substantial damage. And Liz is showing some of the, look at that left strut punching through the near the wing root of the left wing. I do have a little bit of video here that shows the view from the passenger compartment coming in.
Doesn't look very nice weather, does it?
Yeah, it's late and looks like a little
Bit of turbulence.
Yeah.
Looks like it's raining.
Why are we going so fast? But why is he turning? Why is he turning? Race. I'll be race. Holy shit. What the fuck?
That was kind of a hard landing.
What the fuck?
Sparks coming from probably the engine cowling.
Why is there sparks outside?
Yeah, I think you're right. I heard that alarm going off, and I thought it was something in our talkback channel. And it turns out that alarm that you heard going off was actually in the video that we were playing. Steve Horn, hey Steve, in our live audience said, comments from an Alaska friend of mine. They pride themselves in being Alaska bush pilots who fly in every weather. Yeah. Hurricane Hillary was hitting the area. Okay, so you have some nasty weather for Southern California. That's not normal for Santa Ana, John Wayne, Orange County Airport. I'm not sure. Do we have information about the alarm caused the accident? Okay, yeah, I think
Fair enough. It
that
must have,
may have been it.
distracted the pilot. Going, oh, good Lord, it's time for my coffee.
Would you shut off the alarm? I can't focus on lit. Bam. Ah, darn
Damn.
it. Okay, Steve also says they shouldn't have been flying into such a short runway in that weather. It's tight on its own, minus the weather. Well, let's take a look at the weather, shall we? Looks like winds were obviously a factor around this time frame, showing 140, 14 gust 26. So that's a pretty good crosswind.
Yep.
And 2 miles visibility, light rain, 2,200 over, and then the other METAR that occurred before, I think, this landing, a few minutes before. 2 statute miles in heavy rain. The plus RA is heavy rain and mist. So yeah, the conditions were not ideal, to say the least.
No. No, they had a peak wind of 26 knots, 130.26, which is, about 70 degrees off the runway heading. So
yeah, that was 53 after the hour. So that was about a half an hour after they landed. So I would imagine, and that one, that 05, 605Z, I don't see any winds at all listed there. Do you? That auto information
no,
about the winds?
I don't. I just perhaps they generated just because the rain had become heavy. So
okay,
it might have been a significant change. It's very close to the previous one. It's only 13 minutes, 12 minutes after.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So just a case, as our live audience member Steve says here, they of course, I don't know, we are all airline pilots out there. We're qualified to fly in all of these situations, and then it just requires a decision to be made by the commander, the captain, whether or not we're going to, if all the conditions are safe enough for me to safely operate the flight. And yeah, in this case, looks like maybe a miscalculation. Maybe they shouldn't have attempted. But again, this is all surmising based on the little information that we have. But it was quite a hard landing, it looks like.
Yeah, and again, it didn't look like it was too bad until, well, even when it dropped out of the sky onto that wheel, I was thinking, oh, this seems to be going reasonably well.
Mm-hmm.
It's very hard to tell looking sideways out of a window, but you can't really tell what the nose position was.
Yeah. Liz is asking if it could have been a wind shear, and it could have, although I didn't see any wind shear warnings. But anytime you have gusty winds like that, you have the potential for a wind shear encounter. But this, even in the best of weather, Orange County, Santa Ana is a very demanding airport to land because it's a very short runway. And yeah, as UH Blackhawk in our live audience says, SNA can be challenging in good conditions. And he is absolutely correct about that. And so you throw in these not so great conditions, and you can see it was quite a challenge, and just didn't work out very well. But fortunately, no injuries on this flight. So, but the aircraft, as I said, substantial damage. So I'm sure we'll hear more about that as the investigation continues. And this next one is from the New York Times, and they published a very long article. Obviously, we're not going to read this whole thing, but we will have it linked in our show notes. And it after Liz had already selected it for our coverage in the news segment, Jonathan in Minneapolis, I guess, also sent some feedback to us regarding this. He said, saw this pretty interesting New York Times story today about aviation close calls. It includes some interesting graphics and depictions of close calls from the last month. Let's state clearly up front that nothing bad happened in any of these cases. So that's good. But how close were they? That's hard to tell. Wondering if you all have opinions or any opinions on whether these truly close calls were the grace of God, good luck, and TCAS saved us from disaster, or whether this is sort of normal interaction in crowded airspace. And do you, in your professional experience, feel like that these sort of events are happening more often than they used to? And finally, do these examples bring to mind any close calls from your own flying experience you would like to share? Clear skies, etc. Jonathan in Minneapolis. So, the writer of this article, just in the third paragraph of the story, I think was being a little over dramatic when they talked about an American flight to Dallas traveling at more than 500 miles per hour when a collision warning blared in the cockpit. So they obviously are saying a reactive. Now resolution advisory. Thank you. That's what
No
RA
problem.
stands for. An air traffic controller had mistakenly directed a United Airlines plane to fly dangerously close. The American pilot had to abruptly yank the Airbus A320 up 700 feet. So
is that what you Americans do?
Yeah, well, we're Yanks.
You're
that's
abrupt Yanks.
Yeah. That's what we do here. No, so an RA maneuver, resolution advisory, should not require anything more than a very slight climb or descent, or maintaining your level, your altitude, depending on the situation. And I mean, it's possible they could have abruptly yanked the Airbus A320 up 700.
Not generally necessary.
No, and it's probably not what happened at all. This is just in the mind of the journalist. This is what must have happened, but I think that was a little over dramatic. What'd you say, Liz? Yeah, sensationalism, of course. Anytime you're talking aviation, you got to make it sensational. But anyway, the story goes on to talk about several incidents that have happened in recent months, and kind of identifying one seems to be one of the major problems here, and that's the understaffed air traffic control system here. With the increase of traffic after the COVID pandemic, people are coming back in droves to fly everywhere and kind of make up for the couple of years of very limited flying. And the staffing levels, I think anybody that has anything to do and knows anything about air traffic control here in the U.S. would readily admit, we are, very understaffed. I don't know if you want to say, dangerously understaffed, maybe. But the system, thankfully, knock on wood or whatever you want to do, has worked. And kept big pieces of metal from hitting each other. But that's I don't know how you feel about it, Nick, but I'm thinking, man, it's just we're getting away with a lot here, and I have a very, very bad feeling that it's finally going to catch up with us eventually.
We've seen a number of incidents that have come uncomfortably close to a major accident. And that it really does make the hairs on the back of my neck stand up, because a number of them have been potential, the Tenerife accident again. So that does worry me. I think a lot of the incidents that he has used to justify his comments in the article are fairly straightforward and probably occur on a pretty regular basis, regardless. But it's the ones that, the major ones, the ones where you barely got away with it, that really concern me. And you eventually, one of those is going to turn into an actual accident. It's the laws of the world are going to keep these airplanes completely apart by luck forever. Eventually, one of them's going to just happen, and it will be awful. And I hate that often it needs a dreadful accident before real action is taken. It does worry me that it's not sufficient, despite the fact that the NTSB are highlighting these occurrences and the number of them and the severity of them, saying that this is a significant problem. This should be a wake-up call. Why do we need to wait until we've had a major accident before we take action? But sadly, in the past, that has often been the case. Problems with aircraft design, problems with air traffic systems, investing money. People don't want to do it because they say, well, we've got away with it up to now. What's the problem? Tell me, how many airplanes have crashed because of this? And of course, you have to say none. But that doesn't mean to say it isn't going to happen and happen, in a very dramatic manner. But you shouldn't have to wait for that. You should try and work to keep the record very good in any system.
Yeah. UH Blackhawk in our live audience makes a good point here. Should not be ignored, but I think part of it is that every approach is now under scrutiny and on YouTube. there is a lot more surveillance by, private surveillance with people with their iPhones and Android phones and video cameras and stuff going on there, and a lot more people listening to liveatc.net and hearing things happening that, so there's a lot of scrutiny right now, which may not be a bad thing, but it could maybe perhaps be skewing the severity of these incidents. But I don't know. It just seems to me, anecdotally, experience-wise, it seems to me, even considering that more and more of this stuff is happening out there, and that is something
Indeed.
that really kind of scares me as well.
And the other thing is, this reporter has, cited the fact that the number of these incidents are on the increase. Well, the whole volume of air traffic is on the increase, and he hasn't really been able to devise a workout from the figures whether it's an actual increase because of safety concerns or an increase just because of the level of traffic in the sky.
Exactly. All right. Jim Fulton in our live audience, is yanking worse than plummeting?
Ooh,
Well, I guess
I've
depends
never had
on
a
what the
plummet.
situation is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We were asked, do these examples bring to mind any close calls from your own flying experience? That Jonathan asked. So the answer in my cockpit was no. I've been out of the game now for 3 or 4 years, but it's still quite recent history. So no, never really had one of these close calls.
And I've mentioned this a few times in our more than 500 episodes, but I didn't mention it that many times. But one of the events that happened to me that was definitely a close call was back in the 90s, before the turn of the century, before understaffing of air traffic control and all that kind of stuff. But back then, of course, I'm not sure exactly when TCAS came into play. It may have been already something that was there for us as a tool. But the airplane was LaGuardia Airport in New York City. The aircraft in front of us was a private jet that, wait a minute now, I think it was a King Air. It may have been a King Air. Anyway, I was flying the 727 into LaGuardia, landing runway 4. The airplane ahead of us, now that I'm thinking a little bit more about it, was a King Air. They switched over to tower before we did, and then at some point, unbeknownst to us, he was sent around, or he sent himself around, whatever. And so when we switched over to tower, there was no mention of him. I just figured that they must have landed and already turned off. Didn't really think anything of it. Apparently, he had gone around and kind of did a 270, and they cleared him to land on the crossing runway, which was the runway they were using for takeoffs at the time, which was 13. And all of a sudden, in the middle of our landing roll, I see this King Air land right in front of us on runway 13. We're on runway 4, and crossing runways, obviously. And we just went, what? Like, it just happened like that. It was like, what did? Okay, it was already past our path, and
wow.
We were like, what just happened there? How did that happen? And we had a discussion with the control tower, and tried to work it all out. But that was definitely a close call, probably the closest call that I've ever had. Steve in our live audience has had an RA over Tucson when a jump plane came barreling out of 15,000 feet in front of us after dumping their jumpers. Are you sure this wasn't somewhere in South Carolina? South
Kakalaki, kakalaki.
No, I guess Dr. Steph's off the hook. Must not have been her. But
yeah, but they're all the same, these jumper dumpers.
yeah, they're all the same. They're all crazy out there flying their jumper airplanes. Well, speaking of crazy, this guy, this captain, truly has an axe to grind. Let me play some video here. Is it playing? Oh, that was your photo. Okay. Oh, what happened to my video? I guess I didn't prep this properly. Let me try it again. No wonder it wasn't moving. It was a still image. Okay, here we go. We're going to add this to the stream, and I think it has some audio with it.
The pilot in uniform can be seen retrieving a full-sized axe from his car and returning to the parking exit, where he proceeds to take nearly 24 swings at the parking gate.
But who's counting? Just to set this up, a United Airlines captain, I guess he's finished with his trip. Must not have been a really pleasant trip. He gets a little frustrated. I'm assuming this was the end of the trip. Maybe he's trying to get into the parking lot. I'm not sure. I don't recall exactly if he was going to work or coming back from a trip. But apparently,
yeah, I think he was trying to get out. Jeff.
Yeah,
trying to go home. End of his day, long day, probably.
And flying with these FOs, like you just fed up with the whole thing, and so he's fed up with the fact that it's taking so long for everybody to get out of the parking lot here. He pulls out of, we'd all do, we grab that big long handled axe that we keep in our trunk.
I would have grabbed a Magnum, a handgun. That would have
maybe
been much more efficient.
Maybe he didn't have that available apparently. So,
or how about a chainsaw?
A chainsaw. Now that would be handy. It would have made
That
quick work of this.
Much more. Yeah, that would look.
This, what do you call that thing? The arm, the
barrier,
gate arm. That's kind of keeping traffic from flowing past that point. Well, he's pretty upset now. So he starts whacking at this thing. He's going, I know how to fix this. We're just going to get rid of that stupid arm blocking the traffic.
It off of its base. Federal records show Jones, who is 63, is licensed to fly large passenger jets like 757s and 767s. After disabling the parking lot,
it worked.
An airport employee follows Jones,
no, it didn't.
confronts him, and
Sir,
the two were seen in a protracted
axe,
struggle over the axe. The pilot is only disarmed after a second airport employee joins the fray.
What?
United Airlines is not saying much about the incident.
Really? Brad says, I think this will be his last trip, so no more issues with the gate. Yeah, I think you're right, Brad.
Yeah, it might be.
I would imagine that there was probably an appointment made for him to see the chief pilot there at Denver International, and they probably discussed the possibility of his early retirement. That's what I'm guessing.
Yes.
I mean, he's almost there. He's 63. And he's looks pretty good for 63. He has still a nice dark head of hair, and he's very thin and physically fit. And man, the way he was swinging that axe, I don't know about you, but that turned me on. No, I'm just kidding. It didn't. Blackhawk says, falling down to the airlines.
Love it.
Yeah. So anyway, sometimes you have to really kind of keep a good grasp on your behavior, even if you feel very, very frustrated. You can't let it go over that line. Steve says in our audience, why was he carrying an axe in the car? Well, come on, it's Colorado. I mean, I think you're required to carry a big axe in your car, just in case a tree falls down and you need to chop it, out of your way, whatever. I mean, he's probably a rancher. Who knows? Now, Nick, are you aware that you're out of the out of view on?
Yeah, a little bit of mouse trouble there. Sorry.
Oh, okay. There
but I'm still
do you have
disappointed
some,
he
mouse
didn't
problems
take
there?
out a handgun and put a few bullet holes in it.
Oh yeah. Oh, I can hear that happening. Yeah. Anyway, so that was an interesting incident for sure. Yeah. All right.
I'm
Well,
sorry, we all have our breaking point, and obviously he has an issue with this particular gate defying his authority as a captain.
yeah. How dare he have his
Exactly.
authority questioned? Yeah, the CRM on the gate didn't work very well. Okay, well, guess what? It's now time for us to get to know us. That segment of the show where we kind of talk a little bit about what we've been doing between shows. Getting to like us, getting to hope you like us too. All right. So I'll go first because I don't really have much to say. Not a lot of flying lately. I'm kind of tapering down to almost practically nothing. But yeah, I did. I did my my singing.
I'm singing.
I did a lot of that over the weekend, as I normally do. And but before I sang over the weekend, I went out to a dinner with my daughter. I took her out to a very nice place called Rumi's Kitchen, one of a few of these Persian restaurants here in the Atlanta area. And I flew with an FO, I don't know, several months ago that is Iranian. And he was, I was having a conversation with him. I went to another Persian restaurant over around Easter time, right before Easter, I think I talked about the Atlanta Symphony Orchestra Chorus and Atlanta Symphony. They did a very special, I forgot what was it Bach? I can't remember exactly what they did. But anyway, I ate at a Persian restaurant right across the street from the Woodruff Arts Center in Midtown Atlanta. And I texted him and I said, hey, do you have any ideas for what I should select from the menu? And so he gave me a long list of things. But he was actually using Rumi's Kitchen, the restaurant that my daughter Natalie and I went to. And so I still had that in my phone. And so when we went to Rumi's Kitchen, I looked at all the things that he had circled on the menu. And I said, are you game? I'm just going to order everything that he told us to order. And that's going to be our dinner tonight. And she said, yeah, I'm game. So we did that. And it was very, very wonderful. So it was nice seeing Natalie. And that is pretty much it. So, so the other thing I was going to do is I was going to share a photo that was shared on social media, and a group of people that are listeners to our podcast and very involved in the aviation podcasting community got together at the Brown Arch. You know, we talked about the Brown Arch at Oshkosh and the remembrance of Glenn Towler. I'm kind of trying to vamp here because I've somehow lost that image. Where'd it go? I don't see it. Okay, let me go back over here to Evernote and go to Getting to Know Us, and then I must have. Why is it not advancing? Here we go. All right. Sorry about that. Little technical glitch going on here. And now, I know what happened. I had already shared that full screen and I forgot to unshare it. Okay, there we go. There is the image of those who gathered at 10 a.m., I believe it was, or 10:30. 10:30 a.m. at the Brown Arch at Oshkosh last month, and I was really taken aback about the number of folks wearing the shirt like what I'm wearing right now, the Acme Airlines shirt. I really appreciate that. Yeah, taken aback in a positive way. Thank you guys for wearing.
Doesn't that mean you were taken forward?
I guess maybe I was taken forward. I don't know.
Yeah, there you
I don't
go.
know where I was taken.
Nice
Anyway.
cowboy hat there on the right.
Yeah. Look at that. A lot of good-looking people there, man. So, and many of them are listening to us talking right now. So, thanks for. And I'm really sad that I didn't make it in time, to join you for the remembrance of Glenn, but I did make it there eventually and got to see, I think, almost everybody that's here in the photo. Anyway, so
I see a Mohican there, don't I?
a Mohican.
Yeah, just behind Captain Al. Yeah.
Let me see if I can zoom in on this and see if we can see what he's talking about. Yeah, that's an interesting hairstyle. Yeah.
Yeah.
Or is that just something that's behind? That's Logan. I don't think he had a Mohican. I think that might be like a stone in the background that's kind of blending in with his hair. And the reason why it was hard to recognize him is that for most of Oshkosh that I saw, Logan, he was wearing a hat and like I don't know what you call those things, but it's like it has a side and a back to it that covers everything. I mean, it looked like he was ready to take a trip in the Sahara desert, which was appropriate because it was very, very sunny and hot there. He was very smart. Anyway, so there you go. That is what I wanted to share. And now, without further ado, I think we're going to hear from Captain Nick, because I think you've been a lot busier than I have between.
Well, just the last few days, Jeff, because you perhaps remember I did a plain tale, the 4 QFIs. We were just catching up some of the QFIs who worked with me when I was at RAF Valley Flying Hawks.
Just in case people don't know what a QFI is, what is that exactly?
Well, it stands for Qualified Flying Instructor. So you guys call them CFIs, don't you? A Certified Flying Instructor.
The ones in the civilian world, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In the military world?
In the military world, we just say instructor pilots, IPs.
Okay. So anyway, CFI, by the way, in the UK is the Chief Flying Instructor. So if you say you're a club CFI, they assume you are the top dog. Anyway, that's completely irrelevant, but by the by.
Yeah.
So DL, my old friend Dave Richardson, he organized it. And despite his organization, we all managed to get together. I brought Captain Nige along, and we had our great friend Jerry join us. And we started off by visiting Duxford. So if I do this, there you see, there's me standing behind my old man's favorite airplane, the Vickers VC-10. They've got a lovely example there at Duxford. And that didn't work, did it? I've got to use that button. There we go. And they had a nice lineup of T-tails there. Do you recognize any of those? Sadly, there isn't a your 3-holer. There is a Trident, which is quite similar. But there's a 111 Trident VC-10. I think that one at the back there, just behind the VC-10, is a 146. But anyway, by the by, it wasn't really an aircraft recognition test. But we had a great day wandering around Duxford. Jerry was very keen to get to the tanks, which are quite a long way down the airfield. He said he's been to Duxford several times and never managed to get to see the tanks. So we went down to look at all the tanks, and we found one there. And I wished that Dr. Steph had been on the panel today, because it's a Gynaeolator. It is written on the side of this tank, and I think it's the tank's name rather than the type of tank. I did, in fact, find out what type of tank it was. It is indeed an A34 Comet, which also was a type of airplane, but that's a Mark 1B. So it just looks like a tank for anyone else. But it's been called the Gynaeolator, which we thought was vaguely amusing. But it turns out it just means someone who honors women or worships women. So it's not quite as bad as you might think. And from there, we found a tornado. Well, hey, now Jerry and I had both flown the tornado. Jerry, who is on the right-hand side there, if you're looking at the picture with the blue shirt, he flew the ground attack version, and I flew that one, the picture, the aircraft in the picture, which is the air defense version. You can see we're all very impressed because none of us are looking at it. It's got their back turned. And Jerry particularly wanted me to take a picture of him standing beside a JP-233, which was a very specialized weapon, which he carried and fired in the Gulf War. In fact, I think they fitted 2 of those onto each tornado. And the idea was that they fired rocket-propelled projectiles down at regular intervals into the runway, and having penetrated deep into the ground, the explosive then went off and didn't cause a crater, caused a big mound of heave, which of course makes the runway much harder to repair. And the front half, this is the reason we no longer use it, is full of mines. And they were pretty damn clever mines as well, because if you try to clear them off the airfield using a bulldozer, they would tip over and fire a shaped charge up through the bulldozer blade into the cab of the bulldozer. So they were very hard to get rid of. Anyway, that vast weapon was used for the first few days of the war. And then they decided it was all too dangerous to be down there at low level, because it's delivered at low level. And they climbed up to medium level and used other bombs instead. So anyway, that was him. And having got rid of the JP-233, our two nuclear bomb pilots, Jerry and Nige, then wanted to pose in front of a nuclear weapon. So that's them and their bucket of sunshine. But basically, we wandered around having a really good time. And then having spent the evening at Jerry's place and having a few beers, next day we went off to DL's old squadron, number 29 squadron at RAF Coningsby.
Before you do that, I hate to interrupt you, but did you say something about a tornado?
A tornado, yes.
So I think I hear
That's
a tornado in the
like.
background. Okay.
Yeah. Indeed. Very good. And so 29 Squadron gave us the guided tour, the 6-minute tour. They are equipped with the Typhoon. Which is another name for a tornado.
Oh, yeah. We're going to go back
They're
to
both
that.
tropical revolving storms.
A Typhoon. Okay. Yeah, I can hear it.
That's right. Which was the successor to the Tornado. Thank the Lord, eventually we built an airplane that could turn, because it's incredibly agile. And those, by the way, do you know the name of those little wings on the front of the airplane, Jeff?
They look a lot like what do they call those? It starts with a C, I think.
Whack, whack. Okay, you're going to say canard, aren't you?
Yeah, but that's not what they are. What do they call them?
They're actually called foreplanes, which is a bit like foreplay, but with a different spelling.
Gotcha.
And the reason they're not canards is that they they move independently, and hence they're foreplanes and not canards. So Steve, Steve, bad luck, mate.
Yep.
Very close.
Close, but no cigar.
Exactly. Anyway, we had a good old pair. Jerry isn't the tallest of pilots, and you could tell he struggled a little bit in the cockpit there. He could barely see out. But
what we do in the U.S. is have like telephone books, like the Yellow Pages. They're
really yeah, that's a good idea.
That
would have worked very well. He'd need about 20 copies, but there you go. Nigel and DL had a good old poke around. Actually, the cockpit was amazingly simply laid out with you look at it and you go, well, there's not a lot in here. 3 nice TVs, and a lot of software buttons. But because it's primarily HOTAS driven, hands-on throttle and stick, almost all the functions are operated from the stick and throttle. And which leaves an awful lot of spare room around the cockpit with, where you'd normally expect lots of boxes, there's nothing. Yeah, so I was very impressed with that.
Let's see. Going back to that, tank.
That would be.
I-Haul boxes in our live audience say, do Gynaeolators like Foreplanes? Oh,
yeah, that might be a good show title.
That's a stretch.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great title.
Yeah, the HUD is vast. I mean, it really was. He didn't want us to take pictures too much down to the cockpit because it's very classified, but absolutely brilliant. We carried on, and there's a couple of more views of this fantastic aeroplane. It's been around for quite a while in the Air Force now, so it's getting on a bit. And there's one panel I could show you. Do you know what that one is, Jeff?
Nope.
Okay, that's the instructions on how to put away the steps. So if you go land away somewhere and you've got some bloke who's not familiar with the airplane, you open this panel. This is where the steps come down, and then there's but I don't know if you can read the instruction number 7 on the left hand side. It's got a picture of 2 hands pushing the panel shut, having put it away. And just so you know, when it's properly shut, they've written the word clunk.
Clunk.
Which I thought was great.
Push it until it goes clunk.
Yeah, which they spelt with a K. I always thought clunk was spelt with a C, but there you go.
Yeah, me too.
This is obviously a British aerospace spelling. Anyway, I thought that was quite good. From there, we went off to the most wonderful hotel. We're at Coningsby, which during the war in Lincolnshire was a bomber base. And of course, it was the home for quite a while of 617 Squadron, the Dam Busters. But nearby was RAF Woodall Spa, very close. And they requisitioned this beautiful old country mansion called Petwood. And it's now a hotel. So that's where we stayed overnight. But Petwood was given requisition by the Air Force and given to the RAF to act as an officer's mess for a few bomber squadrons, including 617. And when you go in there, it's fabulous. It's pretty old, but it's not actually a Tudor building. It's mock Tudor, but it was built at the turn of the last but one century. And it looks absolutely fabulous, and it was a super place to stay. But beautiful. This is really why we went there, because they have the original Dam Busters bar there. Wow. And although they've refurbished it a bit, because they've taken down some of the memorabilia, the place is just full of this fantastic collection of photographs and letters and paintings of the Dam Busters squadron. And it includes, if you look on the bar there, I'll have to describe it for those who can't get access to the pictures. Above the bar, where we're all leaning, is a lump of tree, a big branch of a tree. And that's the branch that they pulled from the back end of a Lancaster that had gone so low, it had collected it.
Wow.
Now, in the movie, I'm pretty sure that occurred during a practice mission over the Derwent Reservoir when they were working up to get the expertise to fly over the Ruhr dams and bomb those. But they've got the supposedly original piece of tree hung above the bar, which I thought was fantastic. Wow. And there it is, RAF Woodall Spa, the Dam Busters, the Petwood Hotel, and the whole squadron there. And there's a picture of Guy Gibson with all his medals, including the VC. He, of course, led the squadron in the Dam Busters. So it was just fantastic looking at all this stuff. It's a wonderful picture there of Barnes Wallis, who designed the bouncing bomb and designed many other amazing things during the war, including the Wellington bomber. And there's us having a beer after a long old evening yakking, and we carried on quite late. So it was the most fabulous time, and lovely to see those guys again, particularly Jerry, who I hadn't seen for quite a while, and just full of war stories. We were in stitches listening to him tell of all the things that had gone right and wrong in his career.
No audio this time, though, huh?
No, I'm afraid Jerry was a little bit microphone shy, so we didn't press him into producing any audio, which is a shame. But Liz is asking if myself and Nigel were the only guys that became commercial pilots. No, Jerry did as well. He, I think, flew for Britannia. UK independent airline. Dave, the one in the check shirt in the front, he carried on. He flew for Saudi Arabia. He trained Saudi Arabians, flying Hawks for them and things. But that was it. And what a great few days it was. So I'm just going to remove that. And really, that's been my week. So I'm looking forward to the next time we'll get together. And I'm sure it'll be fun.
Yeah, I'm sure it will. Yeah, let's talk about the cover art from the last episode.
Well, that was a lot easier than I think the gynecological
Foreplanator.
We've got the number of the beast because it was an airplane that had the number 666 in it. Well, why was it on fire? I can't quite remember.
Oh, because we had several uncontrolled.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, they had
and also we had a couple
cockpit.
stories about some incidents or accidents for firefighting airplanes as well.
Indeed, we did. So we had to have a couple of fiery devils flying this plane through a lot of fire. So thank you very much for Mid-Journey. The show number. I thought I'd made that pretty easy, but apparently no. If you look on the bit where the FCU, where the autopilot controls would normally be, the 5 is just by the devil's ear. It's on its side, and the 8 is also on its side, and the 1 is standing up, and they're quite large. So I thought that made them quite easy, but apparently they're a bit harder.
I was just looking at, I guess, I don't know. I guess I was trying to find the numbers and all the dials. Darn it, why I keep doing that? Not in a large way, but like tiny little numbers.
Yeah,
like in the digital readout.
Indeed. Luckily, the dials blended in with the numbers, so it sort of helped disguise them. But I did put the 666 on the center display there. So
I see that,
it's a fiery 666 for those.
Yep. iHaul Boxes is worried. You'll have to tell us why. Or Nick, can you tell us why iHaul Boxes is worried, since I can't see that screen right now?
What's APG 666 going to be named then? That's a good question.
Yeah,
I don't know. We'll have to see what happens on the show if we survive it. Oh, and there's the Acme logo down there at the bottom. Brilliant. So that was the artwork. That was quite easy because Mid-Journey did a good job with that.
Oh, and speaking, I was just listening, and I'll have to send you a clip of it, Nick. I guess they're now transitioning to like 6 or 7 version, which includes video and 3D.
Wow.
They said that's going to be an interesting enhancement. And they say that they've worked on, human parts like the fingers and feet and that kind of
fingers
thing.
that are like willies.
Yeah, I think supposedly they've made some. And some other enhancements that you, I think, might be excited about. So we'll talk about that after the show.
Excellent. Okay.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Okay. What time? Coffee fun time. Okay. Well, let me find that jingle and push it. There we go. Got that button.
Johnny, how about some more coffee?
No thanks.
I love coffee. I love tea. I love the APG community. Coffee and tea and the Java and me. A cup, a cup, a cup, a cup, a cup.
Oh, yeah. It's the Coffee Fund. It's your way to support our show financially, if you have the financial resources to do so. And let's see, a couple different ways to do that. One is called the Coffee Fund Classic method, which is essentially a PayPal donation page where you can set up a recurring donation. Several of our listeners have done that. And you can also do one-offs, two-offs, whatever. Every once in a while you want to give us some of your bounty. You can use that method. The other way you can become a supporter of the show financially is to become a patron of our show via patreon.com. And that is a way for you to make a pledge per episode. And all of the folks that contribute to our show gain access to every once in a while we'll publish a crew log. I know it's been a while since we've done that. We need to do more of those. But anyway, basically the best thing about it is that it makes you feel good about supporting our show and kind of encourage us to keep on doing it for you. So if you're interested in learning how you can become part of it, head over to airlinepilotguy.com/coffee. Yep. Oh, we didn't have any contributors since the last episode, so we have our little sad puppy. Aw, he's so sad that you didn't give any money. But I have to point out that if you're a recurring contributor on PayPal or you're a patron, yes, you're every show you contribute it, and we do appreciate it. So we just didn't have any new ones for this show. So not like that other aviation talk podcast that man, they must be just rolling in the dough over there. Anyway, every show, I think it takes 15 minutes for them to go through all the list of people that are new patrons.
Yeah,
It's
it's
amazing.
everyone in the universe, I think, contributes to their show.
I think so. I think all the other aviation podcasts are just going to hang it up. Anyway, so that's it for the Coffee Fund. And now, without further ado, we can move on to some feedback.
Captain, incoming message.
All right, we're going to start with some audio feedback from Vernon in Fort Morgan, Colorado.
Greetings, APG crew. It's Vernon Tryon from Fort Morgan, Colorado. A weekend or two ago, my wife and I attended a family wedding near Laramie, Wyoming, and we had some time to kill, so we visited the lovely Laramie Plains Museum, the historic mansion in Laramie, Wyoming. And I was intrigued by a display of some aviation artifacts. And on the wall was a map from 1935 from the U.S. Department of Commerce, Bureau of Air Commerce, the 5th Air Navigation District, a radio facility map. And it shows airways from Omaha, Nebraska to Rawlins, Wyoming. And I'm forwarding that along to you as another attachment in hopes that you might find it interesting. Maybe Captain Nick may even be able to find a story there in the early days of radio navigation. So I hope that you find that of interest. I encourage you to keep up the great work of APG. I'm caught up and now to the point of looking forward every week or so to a new APG edition with, of course, the crew and Captain Nick's stories. As Captain Jeff, you cruise into retirement, and wish you the best over the months ahead of your flying. So you all take care, keep up the good work. I'm still addicted, so hang in there. This is Vernon Tryon of Fort Morgan, Colorado, retired CFI, former air traffic controller, former safety officer, Civil Air Patrol, which made me a captain actually. And I was a bush pilot in Africa, among other things. But entirely retired now and enjoying the APG to keep me intact. Take care, and I'll see if I can figure out how to turn this thing off.
That's that button over there. Yeah, what you're wondering about the background. Thank you, Vernon, for doing that. And that's when he started sending us audio feedback years ago. That was one of his trademarked, whatever styles or distinguishing characters or characteristics. Wow, you're not helping me at all.
That was a struggle.
She has no idea what I'm talking about, apparently. Anyway, one of the features of his audio feedback was the music in the background, and were you wondering what that was? I'm sure that Google has figured it out with their algorithm. Oh, Liz was wondering if, Vernon, do you have an axe in your car? She wants to ask you a question about that. So
I'm always interested in the whole concept of why we have airways, because before airways, people used to just fly around, didn't they? Big sky theory. That you're not going to all these airplanes, but they're very well spread apart. So you're unlikely to hit anyone. And of course, then they invented airways, and they put all those airplanes into the same place at the same time. And I'm good. That's actually not very safe. So use your flight safety skills there, Vernon, and tell me, is it safer to have airplanes flying down airways or just meandering around in the great big open airspace?
Well, I think it may have something. Now, the photo that he included and that we're looking at right now are actually radio beacons, and so I'm guessing.
Oh,
that
you're cheating. That's not fair. You can't use that as an excuse. God.
Yeah, well, they couldn't see the ground. Probably they had to use radio beacons, and that's why they had to have these airways. But they also had the light beacons and the big arrow, those big concrete arrows that were painted yellow. You'll remember that it was last year I stopped and found one of those in Oklahoma.
Indeed.
It was Kansas. There are some still in operation, the light beacons in Montana and some other places around the country. That's just fascinating to me. That's one of those things I want to do when I'm out there in the RV. I want to go and see if I can, find some more of these things. I was able to find one of those big concrete arrow things, as I said, between, I guess it was just to the west of Wichita, and so I did a little audio video kind of thing there. I think that was a crew log that I did. Anyway, so yeah, they had a whole network of not only radio beacons. I guess the radio beacons came after the lights and the concrete arrows, but. Okay, I want this.
Are they beacons that are just lightweight, or are they some other kind of beacon?
I don't get it. What's your joke?
They're light beacons?
They're light. They didn't look light to me. They look very heavy. They're
okay. I mean, it was some bloke supposed to be sitting there all night with a pile of wood feeding it.
No, it was like a metal structure that would elevate them up into the air a bit. I don't know. We need to maybe do a special
plain tale about light
maybe
beacons.
A plain tale. Yeah.
Okay.
There we go.
I'll see what I can do.
Okay. So thank you, Vernon, for sending that in. We do appreciate it. And let's continue on with Gubby. He says, big ass fans, they get around. He said, sat in a lovely bar in the Seychelles. Look what was wafting us gently. And he has included a picture of a big ass fan. Of course, we used to have, he's still a big fan of our podcast, but he is no longer working for the company Big Ass Fans in Lexington, Kentucky. But every time I see one of those, I always think about Greg Peterson. And
And
Yep.
his patented end pieces.
Yeah.
He
those
had
little,
the wing tip
winglets.
winglets on the he patented winglets for the fans.
But I think that he would look at these, Nick, and say those were not the ones that he designed. But I
No,
don't
they
know for
weren't.
sure.
They look a bit gash. They're like plastic
Yeah.
add-ons. I don't know.
Right. I don't think those. His design was much more elegant.
Indeed.
Well, thanks, Gubby, for sending that in.
What, the knife and fork bar?
Yeah, the La Plage restaurant is the beach is what that means.
Oh, it doesn't mean the plague.
No. And there's the beach in the Seychelles.
Oh, indeed.
Beautiful.
Very nice.
Yeah.
The
very
weather
nice.
doesn't look brilliant, but there you go.
Yeah. All right. Let's
Nice. Very nice.
continue with yeah, we have some I have to apologize. We were trying to remember everybody at that second meetup up at Nigel's country estate. And we were trying to remember all the participants, and we misidentified one of them. I remembered his name was Chris, and then it was suggested that maybe that was Chris Postil. And that he sent in this feedback and says, it wasn't me. During 578, Who Pinched the Pappies, you mentioned my name when recalling the people that attended a meetup in the UK when Jeff was visiting. I was pleased to get a mention on the show and appreciate the compliment about the fabulous t-shirt showing the generations of the Grand Prix. But in the interest of keeping you above 50%, I feel compelled to write in and fess up that it wasn't me. Whilst I would have loved to have been at the meetup, sadly I couldn't be there. I have no idea who the unfortunate misidentified APG community member is, though, but it sounds like he has excellent taste in t-shirts, and I'm sure he had a brilliant time. I do hope to catch you all soon at another meetup, though. And just so that we set the record straight here, the Chris was not Chris Postal, it was Chris Griggs. Chris Griggs.
I hope.
Yeah,
I hope
think
we got it
that's-
right this time.
Yeah,
What do
so
you
sorry
reckon?
about that. We didn't mean to misidentify you, sir. And Chris Postal continues. In other news, on a previous feedback, I wrote in and mentioned how quiet the A380 was. I took a quick business trip across to Dallas last month for a conference and flew on an American Airlines 777-300 ER both ways. Whilst my trusty Apple Watch measured the A380 at 64 decibels, it measured the 777 at 84. Ooh. Totally non-scientific, I know, and I'm sure it varies depending on seat number, et cetera, but highlights just how quiet the A380 is. And you really do notice it. Yeah, that's quite a difference, actually, because it's kind of an exponential increase between 64 and 84. It's not just a linear relationship there with the sound. Mentioning my airline experience for a moment, I'm not sure what American Airlines are like generally, as it was my first flight with them in a number of years, but the return flight was a bit of a calamity. It was a full flight, and the overhead bins soon filled up long before boarding was complete. I watched with great amusement as one flight attendant stood at the rear of the aircraft screaming at boarding passengers that there was no overhead space available and to turn around and head towards business class where there was storage space. All whilst another flight attendant towards the front of the cabin was shouting at those following these directions, ordering them not to swim against the flow and turn back around. Calamity continued as it then turns out that they also forgot to load the special meals for those with dietary requirements. As a coeliac? I'm not sure how you pronounce that. Oh, is that celiac? That's how you... Oh, I think we spelled that differently here in the U.S. Okay, that's what threw me off, Theo. Okay. As a celiac, this meant I went hungry for the next 10 hours. Forced fasting, apparently. And the flight attendant told me that they also forgot to load the drinks glasses for those fortunate enough to be in the nicer seats towards the front. I had visions of first business class passengers necking champagne directly from the bottle.
Good. Yeah.
Given Dallas is a hub for American Airlines, I was a little surprised that it was a complete shambles, as if they're going to get it right anywhere. I would have expected it to be at its largest home base.
Good point,
Well,
Chris.
Dallas, Texas, American Airlines, a bunch of cowboys. All right.
Oh, they're probably using the glasses for target practice then.
That could be. Lastly, I took a sightseeing helicopter tour with my 7-year-old son last week, a flight around Cambridge in a 1988 Bell 206 Long Ranger. Great flight, and my son was super excited to take his first helicopter ride. But what was interesting is that we flew from Bodisham Airfield Museum. Is that right? Bodisham?
Don't know,
did I
never
pronounce
heard
that?
of it before.
Okay, Bodisham is about 10 miles northeast of Duxford and close to Cambridge City. It is no longer an active airfield, but was a World War II fighter base. So you don't remember that, Nick, when you
Nope.
were in World War II?
No, I don't remember that one. Never landed there. Even
Used
in World
by
War II.
both the RAF and U.S. Air Force, home to a range of aircraft, including Spitfires, Hurricanes, Lysander, is that how you pronounce that?
Yeah, Lysander. Yeah.
P-51s and P-47s based there over its short 6-year existence. If you look on Google Maps, the outline of the runway is clearly visible, but as a thick row of trees. This is because of the metal pegs that were used to pin the steel matting that formed the hard runway surface due to the weight of the heavy P-47s. The steel mats were removed, but pegs were left in the ground, causing issues for farm machinery after the closure of the base in 1946, so trees were planted in its place. There was much local excitement as our helicopter tour was the first official aircraft movement at the site since the closure of the base in 1946. Wow. It's a modest little museum that, despite being local, I wasn't really aware of, but it has some interesting things to look at, and the volunteer staff were eager to chat. So to anyone passing, I'd recommend stopping in, buying a coffee, and taking a look around and chatting to the staff there, and get taken for a ride in their original Willys Jeep. Sorry, I've written quite a lot there. I'll stop now. All the best, Chris Postal. And wow, that's cool. Interesting about, I guess those stakes that were holding down those steel mats were so far into the earth that they just couldn't get rid of them.
Yeah, I guess there must have been an awful lot of them. They probably kept re-emerging, like a lot of these things. The earth pushes them back up again. Like, clear them once, and then your farm machinery picks one of those things up, would probably wreck it.
Yeah, probably not good for the old tractor or whatever machinery you're in. All right, so I'm glad we got that all straightened out. Chris Griggs, again, apologies for misidentifying.
Oh, and Chris Postal, I should have realized. But quite honestly, we knew it was Chris, and we never really thought about it until well after the event.
I mean,
we're trying to remember which it was Chris.
Can you believe that there is more than one Chris that listens to the show?
In this world, it's really weird.
Not very, very common. Speaking of museums, Chattanooga Tim Merrick sent in a photo, and he said, "Your retirement." Oh, did I skip one? I did. Let's move back. All right, the next item, I did one of my famous Jeff moves and advanced to the next item, and then thought, okay, now I'll just click the next one and skip the one in between. All right, so this next piece of feedback comes from Texas and LaShock. Greetings, Captain Jeff and APG crew. So among the small museums around West Texas, I finally got in to see the one closest to home. Technically, I'd already been there, but at the time it was known as the American Air Power Heritage Museum when the Commemorative Air Force was headquartered there. Since they moved, most of the museum was shut down, but the hangar they used remained open, and that became the Midland Army Airfield Museum. The cost to enter is a signature in their guest book, but the hours are a little unusual. Except for a prearranged appointment, it's only open to the public on Saturdays from 10 to 3. At the entrance, and the entrance can be a little hard to find. It's a small gate next to the empty building that used to house the CAF Museum. Fortunately, many of the exhibits that were there still exist, such as a demonstration of aircraft identification training, the exhibit on wartime industrial efforts, and a diorama of a wartime home. The main thing that occurred at MAF was bomber training, so they have an entire section on that. Bombers would take off and go on practice runs using giant targets that had been painted on the rocks. Some of them are still out there. There are also displays of various tools and methods used to train bomber crews to recognize various objects from above, structures, vehicles, and ships. It's rather important to know if that cruiser beneath you is a friendly New Orleans class or a hostile Takao class. To one side, you may notice a section painted battleship gray with USS San Jacinto CVL 30 written there. This is a display focused on one notable aviator and a mission he flew in 1944. He got shot down, picked up by a submarine, and later came to Midland and became a prominent businessman, and eventually the 41st President of the United States. The exhibit has a little about young George H.W. Bush, the response to the attack on Pearl Harbor, the Grumman Avenger that he flew, and the campaign and mission they were undertaking at the time. And there's a little about USS Finback, SS-230. But the centerpiece is the hangar floor with their collection of aircraft. As to be expected from the CAF, most of them are airworthy. They have quite a few T-6 Texans, a couple of them done up in Imperial Japanese colors as part of the Tora squadron. It's tightly packed, though, so it's easy to bump your head on something if you're not paying attention. Also present, that's what Tora means in Japanese. I hit my head. Also present is an F-14 Fast Eagle 102, the first on to score a kill when it shot down a Libyan Su-22 flying off USS Nimitz in the 1981 Gulf of Sidra incident. Or is it Sidra? Gulf of Sidra. Okay. They also have some information on the target range's giant Kalish outlines. I don't know what that is. Kalish? Drawn out in the desert. They have a pilot that knows where several are and likes to locate them when he flies. I found a paper that discusses them, their history, and how they've fared in the years since. And I have a feeling that Liz is probably looking up the definition of that word. Oh, you haven't found it yet? Okay. There's also one of those
Kalish is a mineral deposit of gravel, sand, and nitrates found in dry areas of America, and it's another term for calcrete.
Oh.
You're going to ask me what calcrete is now, aren't you?
I don't know what calcrete is. It's concrete in California?
A breccia or conglomerate cemented together by calcareous material found in soils in semi-arid conditions.
And you think you listen to the show and you don't learn anything? Come on.
Yeah.
There you go. Ding. Oh, yeah. Okay, let's just make sure we get that. The learning bell. There's also one of those concrete arrows over in Odessa, the ones that were used to mark airmail routes. And we were just talking about those concrete arrows a few minutes ago. So there you go. Quite a bit of aviation history around this area. If you ever find yourself here or traveling Interstate 20, consider pulling off and checking it out. This is the Texas and LaShock signing off. Very nice. Another museum tour from our reporter. I'm sure they have RV parking. I mean, there's a lot of room in Texas. Park them RVs. Yeah, I'm sure I'll be doing a lot of that. Okay, now let's continue on with feedback from Chattanooga Tim. And the subject is your retirement plan. If you ever decide to hit Norway, start in Bergen. Oslo isn't all that exciting, except it's the capital. That building is in Bergen, the one that he included in his feedback. And I had a laugh seeing the name. Okay, so the name that he's referring to, not spelled exactly the way I do, but probably pronounced the same, Nielsen, Nilssen. There's no Norwegians. They have a weird way of spelling things, I think. He said, I hit MM a few weeks ago. They found what I had pre-ordered for my meal. Laugh out loud. So what? I don't understand what that means. I don't know. I don't know what an MM is either. Yeah, Tim, you have to send him more feedback and explain yourself. MM. I hit MM a few weeks ago. Maybe it was one of the places that we went to the last time I was there with First Officer, now Captain Brent. I don't remember the name of the place, but that may have been initials Yeah, like a seafood restaurant that we went to. I don't know. I'm just guessing. All right. Thank you, Tim. Continuing, and he's just up the road in Chattanooga, Tennessee. That's only about an hour and a half drive from where I am. We have some audio feedback from Jim Fulton, and we noted that he was here with us in the chat room earlier. I don't know if he's still there or not, but while we figure that out, we're going to go ahead and play some audio feedback that he sent us.
Hi, Jeff and the crew. Long-time listener and occasional chat room attendee Jim Fulton here. I'm not flight crew, but did spend a couple of years working at an airport, dispatching Acme aircraft at Edinburgh amongst the EasyJets and Ryanairs, though we only saw the venerable Boeing 767 there. Sorry, Captain Nick. These days, I can only say that I'm a lifelong enthusiast and photographer, living in the beautiful Cotswolds, around an hour away from Heathrow, but very close to those pesky Yanks who appear from time to time at my local airfield, Fairford. I have two questions really. One is for Jeff, and it's, will you mourn the angry puppy when it's finally replaced by the Montreal mongrel, the Airbus A220? I know you'll be retired by then, but just wondered. The second question is, what are your opinions of the aircraft I have booked on this coming winter? I'm travelling with a friend from London Heathrow to Miami, Florida, to photograph the myriad of South and Central American carriers operating from there. We wanted to take the opportunity to fly on different metal than the usual Boeing 777, 787 or Airbus 330 or 380. So we booked with a well-known German airline, flying in the wrong direction at first, to experience the majestic Boeing 747-8 westbound and the Airbus A340-600 eastbound. Relatively short connection times out of London Heathrow, but hey, what could possibly go wrong? I know Captain Nick flew the A340-600, and Miami Rick flies boxes on the Boeing 747-8. Can you all give me your thoughts on this crazy routing? And let's see some real Boeing versus Airbus facts versus fiction. Keep the blue side up, all. Jim.
All right. The bashing, huh? He wants it to continue. Is that what we're hearing now from Jim? Is Jim still with us in the chat? Has he made himself? No, I don't see him. Yeah.
Well, okay. It'd be a bit one-sided, any Boeing bashing at the moment, because we haven't seen Rick to hold up his end, as it were, for a few
that is something to see
now.
When he holds up his end.
End, yeah, indeed. Well, he has to be a bit careful, particularly when he's ironing.
Yeah. Yeah, we missed the bashing of the Airbus and the bashing of the Boeing. Oh, but no, I take that back. We get a lot of Boeing bashing since Rick is not here.
Very mild. Come on, the occasional dig. That's all you get.
Occasional what?
Dig.
Oh, dig. Okay, gotcha.
Yes.
All right. Thank you, Jim, for sending in the feedback, and you'll have to let us know how the trip goes. I know you've made some.
Yeah,
good plans.
You better enjoy that 340.
Oh, yeah, that's right. His first question was regarding the angry puppy. Am I going to be sad because of the, what do you call it, the Canadian mongrel, the Montreal mongrel? Well, I've never heard that reference to the Airbus 220. But yeah, I don't know. It'll be sad when the old Diesel 9 is finally put out to pasture. But I have a feeling that the DC-9 and its many variants over time will continue to be flying all over the world, just like the DC-3s. You can still find them around this world, even some of them doing a lot of good air work still. So I don't know. We'll see what happens to the little mad puppy. But the latest I've heard at Acme, it's going to be in service for at least a few more years, possibly as far as maybe going all the way to 2030. So could be another, something between 5 and 10 years before we finally see Acme get rid of them and somebody else pick them up and beat us over the head with them, maybe. That's what happened with the DC-9 -30s that we had, because back in the day when they were having some issues with some rapid decompressions and getting holes in the fuselage skin, and the whole focus by the public was these things are unsafe, and so Acme decided, let's get rid of all of our DC-9s because the public feeling about it is that they're not safe to travel in, and so we got rid of them all. And then a little cheeky airline named ValueJet bought them all, and they proceeded to, and they were based in Atlanta, and they proceeded to beat us over the head with those DC-9s, and that's all they were flying, those DC-930s, and they had a cute little, like a little airplane character that they came up with, and they were just having all kinds of fun, and they were charging a lot less than Acme was for the same flight segments. And I think that Acme learned a big lesson there, that if you get rid of your airliners again, make sure that you destroy them or sell them to somebody else that are going to use them for like cargo or something. But yeah, that was a lesson well learned by Acme back in the day, back in the 90s. All right. Okay, let's continue with this from Sam Dawson. Some advice for Dingleberry. In episode 580, you gave some great advice to an anonymous person who was struggling with the upgrade at an airline. Some thoughts. 1. If you're the flying pilot during an emergency, try to turn over the flight controls to the first officer after things have settled down. For example, during an engine failure, once the initial steps have been run and the autopilot's on, most captains will turn over the controls to the first officer. This way, a captain is better able to manage an emergency while maintaining SA, situational awareness. It can be very hard to fly and manage at the same time. 2. In the words of an Italian driver, what's behind us doesn't matter. It's tough to compartmentalize and put mistakes behind us, but it's critical to prevent being overwhelmed. I once had a professional golfer as a flight student. I don't golf or follow golfing, but I did while he was still actively playing. I noticed during one tournament that a single shot cost him $100,000. I brought this up to him during our next lesson, much to his consternation. Quote, like I didn't know it, and my wife didn't remind me when I got home, he responded.
Yeah, I had to make a guy cry again.
I know. Thank
to
you, honey.
remind him.
Thank you for your confidence
Didn't
in
you
me.
just lose 100,000 on? Oh, dear,
Yeah.
Sam.
He then mentioned what separated great golfers, such as Tiger Woods, from the average pro golfers, such as himself, was the ability to put a bad shot behind you. He said players such as Woods...
Hang on a minute. Putting a bad shot behind you makes it even harder to get to the hole, doesn't it?
Yeah, depends on what kind of shot you're putting behind you. He said players such as Woods would make a poor shot, coldly analyze it, and then move on. My student would make a poor shot and dwell on it. As pilots, we need to be more like the Woods and try to compartmentalize the mistakes until we get to the bar. 3, often there is not a perfect solution to a problem. There may even be several solutions, none of which are ideal. One of my emergencies took place in the Northeast U.S. I had to shut down an engine during a winter nor'easter and divert. As I analyzed possible diversion airports, a few were obviously pure choices. Let's try that again. As I analyzed possible diversion airports, a few were obviously poor choices. Those below minimums or those with strong crosswinds on contaminated runways. But many of the others were similar. Some had better visibility but lower ceilings, while others had lower visibility but higher ceilings. All had blowing snow and contaminated runways. None were VFR. The scenario was later incorporated into training at my airline for just this reason. Also, you pointed out solicit feedback. I once had a captain who told me, two outside, two inside. And we actually use that same term at Acme when we talk about emergencies, meaning talk to the dispatcher and ATC, which are the two outside, and the FO and the FAs inside. Also, when soliciting feedback, don't tell the FO your preference. Maybe give 3 possible solutions and ask their opinion. That way, they don't just agree with you, but they may give some insights you had not thought about. And 5, lastly, in addition to studying systems, study CRM. Not necessarily the dry technical studies of CRM and the acronyms, but case studies. There are many examples of both poor and good CRM. Read them, listen to the podcasts about them. Even after over 35 years of flying, I still try to learn from accidents and the lessons of others, both good lessons and bad lessons. Good luck to you, and I hope you overcome this small hump in your career. For the APG crew, keeping the sunny side up and the dirty side down. Sam.
Well done, Sam.
Yeah, great advice, sir.
Yeah, that's just like your eggs, isn't it? Sunny side up, dirty side down.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And also, some more advice, feedback regarding Mr. D. Berry, Dingleberry, episode 580. This comes to us from Tim Qualls in Arkansas. Listening to episode 580 and Mr. Berry's problem of worrying about not being able to figure out solutions to problems made me think of Rick Ankiel, who was expected to be the next best thing in the Major League Baseball, MLB. He was a real hotshot pitcher. However, he ended up throwing a bad pitch once, and after that, began to throw wild pitches almost consistently. He said he had pinpoint accuracy in the bullpen, but once he stepped to the plate, he became so concerned about not pitching badly that it made it impossible to pitch a strike, to the point he ended up having to give up his position as a pitcher and moved to the outfield, I believe. So maybe there's something there for Mr. Berry. It's obvious you're a very knowledgeable pilot, given how far along in the industry you've gotten so far, so you know what needs to be done. I don't believe I'd have any second thoughts about riding on any plane you're piloting, because I'd have enough confidence that you would make the right decisions. It sounds as though you've let yourself get too focused on not getting it right, that it clouds your ability, that I'm sure you have, to do what is needed correctly. One other non-pilot area lesson I've learned that might help out also, I'm assuming you go through these different scenarios in your head from time to time to practice them. One of the best lessons I've learned about practicing magic, Tim is a magician, not to compare being a magician with being a pilot. Obviously, anyone can be a pilot. Is that when you have the moves learned and are working on the whole routine, if you make a mistake, don't stop and start over. We don't get to do that in a real performance, so you shouldn't do it in practice. So if you're rehearsing scenarios in your head and find that you did something wrong, instead of getting down on yourself and starting it back over, decide what you have to do now to fix the issues. Another magic lesson, sorry for using magic instead of flying, but I know more about one than the other, is that we have all heard it said that the hand is quicker than the eye, which is honestly a line of stuff to make it seem like we are more talented than we are. The truth is, if we do something fast, you're more likely to be suspicious of it. And I teach anyone when they're starting to learn magic tricks, slow. Speed will come later, but more important is being smooth and doing it correctly. This goes along with what others have said about taking time to diagnose what the issues are first before just trying to start fixing things. As you practice scenarios in your head, or if you're lucky enough to have a friend who can throw scenarios at you, be more focused on taking the time slowly to go through the steps you need to do instead of trying to do them fast. Eventually, I believe they will become automatic for you, and the speed and smoothness will be there. And this happens a lot more quickly than most people imagine they will. Maybe this will help, or at least be encouraging, even though it's not technically very aviation oriented. And again, that was from Tim Qualls. And no, I mean, I think it's always good to have analogies to help us understand things and concepts. And I think you did a great job, Tim. Okay. Yeah. UH Blackhawk in our live audience. I agree. Who would think good flying advice from magic? Sometimes, though, I think that flying is like magic, right? I'm sorry. I talked over you, Nick. Go ahead. Say that
That's
again.
all right. I think all good pilots are magicians.
Yeah. And so a lot of times when we were talking about some of our computer systems and the autoflight systems and everything else, we just call it pure effing magic.
Yeah, it's very true.
Or instead of automation, we call it auto magic or something like that. Yeah, that doesn't sound right now that I've said it. Anyway, thanks, Tim. Appreciate it. Hope everything's going well for you in Arkansas. I'm sure it's a little warm there.
Arkansas.
Or Arkansas. Yes, I'm sorry.
Thank you.
Nick, I should have said that too, so you understood what we were talking about.
Yeah, I get confused otherwise.
All right. How are we doing with time, Liz? Are we still? Oh, really? Okay, great. We're making good time here. Let's continue with this feedback from Paul in Ohio.
Good afternoon, Airline Pilot Guy Show. How's everybody? Hopefully you're doing awesome. I have a pet peeve. Yes, not only Jeff has pet peeves, but I do too. Especially when the captain says, flaps 5, and the officer says, okay, and does the action. What happened to three-way communication where the first officer is supposed to repeat what he thought he heard, and then the captain would correct him if needed corrected? Three-part communication. That all could have been avoided. Here's why it's my pet peeve, because I used to work in the nuclear field. In the control room, three-way communication. That's the best way to do it. Not just in the control room, but everywhere in the plant. Anyway, this is that flight from Maui we were all talking about. Maui. I was supposed to be going there in a week and a half, but this might turn into a volunteer mission. That is, if I can figure out how to go volunteer. No, I'm not doing Red Cross, none of that stuff. I'd rather get the money right to the people, not to the organization. Anyway, that's my 2 cents. What all do you say about my comments, my rants, and my raves? Have a great day, everybody. Awesome show as usual.
Thanks, Paul. And it was nice seeing you when you came down from Ohio and joined us in Atlanta for the meetup with A320 Matt. And it was nice. It was nice getting caught up with you. So what I would say is that I agree with the communication aspect, and that there are certain things at Acme where we're required to read back certain instructions given to us by air traffic control and that kind of thing. And also inside the cockpit, if we are given a clearance to cross an active runway, we're supposed to verbalize that clearance so that everybody knows what we're thinking inside the cockpit. But they don't delineate exactly when you should, repeat something that was directed or instructed by the other person. But I think it is personally a good idea to when somebody asks for a configuration change, that you do verbalize, and this may be standard operating procedure in a lot of different airlines out there, where if I call for gear up, I don't believe that's one of those that is required for the pilot monitoring to say gear up, but I always do. I always repeat what the other person is saying, just in case I may have misheard what the challenge was, or the instruction or direction was. The reason why I say that is because I remember many, many years ago as a co-pilot on the 727 coming into Atlanta, and we were like probably still 25 miles. It was quite a ways away from the airport, landing to the east. And I thought the captain told me to lower the landing gear. I thought he said gear down. And so I think, well, it's a little early, but okay. And then I put the handle down. As soon as I got about halfway lowering the gear handle, I thought to myself, I feel like somebody is staring at me in a not nice way. And I kind of looked over at him, and he's looking at me, and I said, "You didn't ask me to lower the gear, did you?" And he said, "No." "Oh, sorry. Do you want me to put it back up?" And he goes, "No, leave it down." So I mean, that, it's kind of gets loud, but it even got louder when you lowered the landing gear. So if I had said gear down, maybe he would have said, no, I did not. I did not say that. Please don't do that. UH Blackhawk, again, in our live audience, talks about, again, referring to this Maui situation. Flaps 20 takeoff is not very common. I think there was an expectation bias by both pilots. Yep, for sure. That is a thing. The FO assumed he would move the flaps 1 click, 20 to 15, as he usually does, going from 15 to 5 or 5 to 1. Yeah. So on an occasion on the mini dog, we normally use flaps 11 for takeoff, but there are occasions when we use our dial-a-flap system. Yes, I'm not making that up. Where from Ramco, or what Ronco, is that the anyway, where you could use a different variable flap setting to be based on your performance and such. And so flaps 13 sometimes is a thing. Now on this airplane that I'm flying now, it's pretty easy the way they have the gates set up in the flap handle to make a positive change from 13 to flaps 5 or whatever. The way they've designed this system is much better than the Mad Dog system, where I'd always dread when I was the pilot monitoring, and we had to do a not common takeoff flap setting, because it would take me forever to I'd lift up on the flap handle and go, I'm trying to figure out where the gate is to get the thing up, and sometimes I even go, could you do that for me, please? Because I obviously can't figure out how to move the flap from this position to that
I've obviously
position.
broken it.
I don't know what I'm doing. Yeah, do that. Anyway, so that definitely was, I'm sure, a factor in this whole thing. But I don't know, for you, Nick, when you were flying for Virgin, was that kind of a standard operating procedure for you to repeat the instruction to move the flaps to a certain setting or put the gear up or down or whatever?
Not so much to repeat the command, but there was definitely a very formalized throughout the entire Airbus world, not just our airline, way of moving systems and operating, doing checklists. The responses were very clearly laid down. And if you're an Airbus pilot, every Airbus pilot did it the same. So you could actually walk into an Airbus cockpit, probably with almost any Airbus airline in the world, and you get 90% of the calls right, because the odd airline had a slightly different way. So the usual thing, if you were called for a service, someone would call flaps 1, you would look and check the speed of the aircraft to make sure it conformed with the flap 1 that you're about to select for the pilot, and then you would select it and call back flap 1. So he got both. First of all, he confirmed that you check the speed, which is what he should have done as well. So you both now check the speed, and now you put it to the position he called. If you said something different, he could obviously change his command or correct your error.
Very good. And I have a feeling that that's probably quite true for most of the airlines operating out there today.
We started off with a lot of our own SOPs, because we had a lot of Boeing guys on the Airbus when we started, and they tended to want to do things the old Boeing way.
Mm-hmm.
But the company quite quickly realized that if a mistake was made on the flight deck that left them open to litigation, it was much better to have used the manufacturer's SOPs rather than your own, because it meant that you could then point to the manufacturer and go, well, that's what they told us to say.
Yeah, they told us to do
or
that.
do.
Yeah,
So we slowly, all our books were modified over the years back to what Airbus wanted.
Yeah. I think that same thing happened over here as well. The lawyers went in there and went, okay, we suggest that you do it like this.
Quite honestly, there was nothing really wrong with Airbus SOPs. It's just that, people just wanted to try and keep a little bit of commonality between Boeing and Airbus, because if you switch fleets, then it wouldn't be quite so hard. But I don't know. I never switched fleets, so I don't know.
Now, Paul, I do remember you talking about when we were having dinner the night before the meetup that you had plans to head over to Maui for a vacation. And in fact, I believe you said you were even thinking about renting an RV, like a small, a camper van, and kind of exploring the island of Maui. And so when this horrible fire happened in Lahaina, I thought of you and wondering, in fact, I think I reached out to you and said, how's that Maui vacation plan going? And he mentioned to me at the time that he was thinking about going anyway and trying to help with the recovery of the city over there. So you'll have to let us know if you ended up actually heading over there and and kind of give us a firsthand, boots on the ground kind of report from Maui. Great question, Paul. Thanks for sending in the audio feedback. We do appreciate it. And continuing. Yeah, absolutely. Let's go to Micah's feedback, number 16. I think really not much of a setup here. I think the best thing for me to do right here is to throw it to our main man, Micah.
Hey, thanks, Jeff. Do you remember when you were out here, I think it was the last time, and we had lunch on a ferry boat? Yeah, on a ferry boat. DeMillo's ferry boat that happens to be a restaurant. Well, that lunch was so good, and it's a place I enjoy anyway, that when Major Rick Bell and his beautiful wife, Erin, decided to come into town, I said, let's go have dinner on the ferry boat and go to DeMillo's. So here we are. Thought with a little meetup, and we thought we'd bring the meetup to you. So, Major Rick, it's been forever since I've seen you, and you're looking great. What brought you up here to Portland?
We're on vacation, Micah. Thank you so much for having us and being such a gracious host. It's been awesome being up here with you. So, no, we're up here on vacation. So we're doing a little tour of New England. So Boston and Portland, and we did Salem, Massachusetts. It was incredible. It's been such a nice time. Such a nice week.
Well, I know really what brought you here to Maine, and what's here in Maine is we have a lot of moose up here in Maine, and you're a moose driver.
Yes, I'm a moose driver. That's right. So former Hercs, now moose.
So I gotta ask you, Aaron, how do you deal with a moose driver like this every day? He's so difficult to deal with. You can't shut him up, can you?
Never. I can never shut him up. He likes talking to everybody, and I usually just walk away.
Well, he's a great guy, and we're glad he's talking to us. So where do you head from here? You came up from Boston, and you're here in Portland for a little bit. What are the plans for the next few days?
So we're going to go into a oyster tour. Oyster farm tour. Yeah, oyster farm tour tomorrow. And we're going to go, be on the water all day tomorrow. Come back here. We're going to go get lost in the city again. And then on Thursday, we're going to go back down to Boston. And we are going to go see the Feast of St. Anthony.
In the North End.
Yeah, in the North End. Yeah. In the North End. And we're going to go back to Boston for a little while. And then we'll be home probably Saturday.
Okay, so I got to ask you at least one airplane question, since this is the Airline Pilot Guy podcast, as well as a Journey is a Reward podcast. So I'm going to ask you a question about something you told me about a little bit earlier while we were having dinner, because dinner's over now. Tell me a little bit about invasion stripes, what they are, and what's happened.
I don't know if I'm allowed to tell you, so this is supposed to be a secret, but no, not at all. So the 9/11th Airlift Wing has painted invasion stripes on the C-17. So aircraft 3292, you can probably look it up on the internet. And they look amazing. The only C-17 in the world that has invasion stripes on it. It's kind of a secret. You guys know about it now, so.
Well, it's not a secret anymore, and I did see some pictures, and boy, does that plane look special.
It looks great. It looks really good. So it's out there flying in the world, so keep an eye out. I know there's a lot of airplane spotters out there, so that are going to be really excited to go get pictures of it. So it's really good looking airplane.
And Aaron, I want to ask you one question, because, and you don't have to answer it, and I can edit it out if you want me to, but Rick flies all over the world in his Moose, in his C-17. And what's it like being at home, not necessarily knowing where he is or how long he's going to be? How do you handle that?
it's part of the reason why we work so well together is that I kind of came to this understanding when we got together, and that I kind of just give him the freedom to be out there on his own, and all I ask from him is text messages to let me know when he lands, when he's taking off. So there may be weeks at a time where we don't really talk other than text messages coming back and forth. So
Well, that makes for a very special and wonderful relationship, and you guys are a great couple, and I'm so glad that you're my friends, and I'm so happy to see you, and thanks so much for coming out and visiting with me today. It was great to see you.
Oh, Mike, it was so nice to see you, man. So it's been too long. Wings Over Pittsburgh was the last time we saw each other, I guess, from what we figured out, right? So, man, it's been awesome. Thank you so much for having us, being such a gracious host, and what a great restaurant.
Thanks so much again, and Jeff, back to you in the studio.
I got it. Thank you, Micah. Great report. And yeah, Wings Over Pittsburgh, 2017. That was more than 6 years ago that we met in Pittsburgh. Rick, Captain Rick at the time, was the air boss, or somebody very high up in the hierarchy of arranging for and planning for and executing the Wings Over Pittsburgh plan, the 9/11th airlift wing, reserve airlift wing, I guess they call it. And anyway, now it's Major Bell. I think he's more of a Major Payne, actually. But anyway, just kidding, Rick. I haven't seen him myself. And
after Major comes Dinger.
Really? Okay.
Dinger Bell.
Dinger,
yeah.
Dinger Bell. Okay.
Dinger Bell.
So he mentioned, I thought that was quite interesting what he said about the invasion stripes. And so I did a little research of my own and stumbled upon some of those images that Liz was showing while we were listening to the meetup audio. And I have a video that I'd like to play, Liz. So I'm going to pop that into the screen. Sorry. It's just very loud music in the background here, no narration. But it kind of shows a time lapse of them painting the various parts of the airplane with the invasion stripes. I thought it was quite interesting in the article I was reading. It said that they used screen ink. So I know what screen ink is. It's plastisol. That's what you use for screen printing, like T-shirts and other items. And I thought, wow, I would have thought that they would have used some kind of a paint that you buy and use to paint airplanes with, not screen printing. Maybe.
Is it so they can peel it off in a hurry if they?
No, I don't think
so. They need to do something operational.
I don't think so, because plastisol, once it's been cured, so this might be something else. Maybe they're just using the word screen ink and to mean something else. But screen printing ink, for it to be a permanent thing, you got to kind of cure it with infrared.
Oh wow!
Heat.
Does look good though.
Yeah, it does look good. It looks very nice. Looking at those
It's funny to think that actually on the real aircraft that participated on D-Day with these markings on, they were very crudely put on in a big hurry because it was very secret what was going to happen, and they all got their orders to paint the aircraft with these strange stripes very late in the day. And so a lot of it, they weren't beautifully masked. It was just a paintbrush and a great big paintbrush, and everyone was slapping paint on all these airplanes just to get some stripes on it.
Maybe that's why they use screen ink instead of
we've turned it into an art form where it all looks absolutely pristine, of course.
Yeah. So apparently I'll link the news story that I found regarding why the 9/11th decided to do this with one of their C-17s.
Yeah, Neil wonders if they're planning on invading someone soon.
Well, I'm not sure that we can actually discuss that, Neil. But
Mr. Bell was Major Bell was trying to keep it secret.
Yeah, well, it turns out that it's not a secret at all. They started painting the airplane in June, I believe, and June 6th is the D-Day date. And the 79th anniversary was this year on June 6th. And then They're going to have the invasion stripes, and this is in honor of D-Day, by the way. And they're going to keep the invasion stripes on this particular tail number until the anniversary, the 80th anniversary of D-Day on June 6, 2024. And then they'll take them off. I think they're only allowed to use them for like a year. So
really?
That's like a regulation out there with invasion stripes.
Oh, I never. Who regulates that? The Invasion Stripe Committee?
Yes, I think it's a department.
Must be a Department of Defense.
I'm getting communication from our control room, and what was the question? Mm-hmm. Yeah, we can do that. Okay. So our control room producer, Liz, is suggesting that we do 2 more and then wrap it up for today's episode. And the first one that she's thinking about us covering would be the audio feedback from JJ Pittsburgh. And so we always enjoy here. By the way, he usually records while he's in a car, and I did my best to fix the audio here because the road noise was almost so bad, so loud that you couldn't hear what you were saying, JJ. So I put it through one of the applications, sound repair applications, and hopefully you'll be able to hear him without a problem. But that might be why it kind of sounds a little bit wonky. But without any further delay, we're going to go ahead and listen to this audio from JJ Pittsburgh.
Greetings, APG crew. It's JJ Pittsburgh here. As you may have figured out, I'm on the road once again. Anyway, I'm doing well. It's a beautiful day for a drive, heading south. And I'll be doing, well, I started to record a podcast of my own. So I'll definitely give more details whenever that happens because, hey, why not? Maybe you guys will give me a plug. We'll try to gather some listeners together.
Don't think
but
so.
At any rate, I had a question regarding hygiene in the cockpit. So, family show. So anyway, I heard there was a commercial where the one actor's pretending to be a pilot and he makes a joke about his co-pilot smelling bad. So I wondered if any of you pilots have dealt with that issue where a co-pilot, or maybe if you were a co-pilot at the time, maybe the captain actually had bad body odor, or in the case of maybe like heavy cologne, and that was like irritating. Or the other side question was, is cologne even allowed to be worn in the cockpit due to like maybe allergic reactions of other people? I was wondering if that's even allowed. I'm guessing probably not, but who knows? That's why I'm asking the experts. If you did have that situation where the person had an issue with that, did you address it with them, or how did you deal with it? Anyway, that's pretty much all I had. I was just thinking of that randomly when I heard that commercial. So anyway, I will catch you soon, and peace and love.
Peace and love. Hey, I guess I missed that commercial, JJ. I'm not sure what he's talking about there. Oh yeah, Shingles Doesn't Care is my favorite commercial, and I'm sure that I can find
Shingles Doesn't Care.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, what's a love pizza? I've never had one of those.
Peace and love. Peace and love.
Peace and okay, right. Okay, sorry.
Yeah, you knew what that meant. So you're not fooling me. So hang on. He wanted to ask some experts. Hang on. Staff, are there any experts here today? No experts.
Well,
Darn it.
We've
Well,
all
maybe
got body odor one way or another.
I have not personally ever had a situation where I flew with somebody who had very strong body odor, nor have I ever flown with somebody who had like an overwhelming amount of. Well, I take that back. I have maybe once or twice flown with an FO that kind of overdid it a little bit on the old cologne or whatever, but. Sex Panther, yes, that is a nasty stuff. That's from the movie called Anchorman. What was he was a sports guy, right? That had all those fancy colognes. I forgot what his character's name was, but he had some really apparently very strong cologne called Sex Panther. But that was many years ago. In recent decades, I don't recall ever being in a situation where I thought, because you're in a small space, especially in the little mini dog, little angry puppy, which is the Boeing 717 or the MD-95 more appropriately or more accurately. But no, fortunately, I've not had that situation. Now, I do remember there was, and thankfully, I never had the opportunity to fly with this FO, but and I'm not going to mention the gender. There was an FO who was and I'll probably mess up by using the wrong pronoun. Was a vegetarian, and this FO apparently had a lot of pressure in her lower gastro.
I think you just mentioned the gender.
Oh shoot! I knew you were waiting for me to do it.
Yeah,
okay.
I was.
Well, anyway, yeah, it was. It doesn't matter though. I mean, it could have been a male. In this case, it was a female. But she was. I mean, everybody knew her name, and it was like, "Have you ever flown with so and so?" Thankfully, I never did. I think. Well, I'm not even going to say what her name is. But apparently, she just let these things fly, like a lot, and they said it was noxious, the emissions, mainly because of her diet, and it was like one of those things where the chief pilot's office knew all about it and had a lot of complaints and everything else. And I'm thinking, oh man, I'm not sure what's going to happen when I have to fly with this person, but I never did, thankfully. So,
well, the one thing you want to make sure you don't do is light a match.
Yes, you got to be very, very careful. Those are definitely flammable gases. What was the name of the character? Brian Fantana, and that was a character name, right? Not the actor's name. Paul Rudd. Oh yeah, that's right, Paul Rudd. How could you forget that? Brian Fontana was the character in Anchorman. Great movie. Really, really stupid comedy, but I love it. I love stupid comedies. Anyway, so that's my experience, my anecdotal experience regarding either, very strong odors, whether they be pleasant or not so much. How about you, Nick?
No, never really had to worry about body odor from any of my work colleagues. Although we did have one famous flight service manager who she was notorious. I've mentioned a few stories about her before, making an inappropriate PA down to the crew rest to wake up the cabin crew that went all around the cabin. Do you remember that story?
I think so. Yeah.
Anyway, same woman. We were at the top of descent, so we're all strapped in. And she's just done her final check, and she's just popping in to clear up everything that we might have left in the flight deck, all the cups and stuff. Anyway, she goes and clears that up, hands the tray to someone else, and then she backs in backwards through the door, lets rip, and then giggling like a maniac, runs out and slams the door and leaves us with the whiff. So she'd obviously been saving that one up for a while.
Oh, wow. UH Blackhawk says, I did make the mistake of having a loaded burrito for lunch prior to a sim period. Instructor called it early. Ooh, what a great
That's
strategy.
a good trick. I like that
Oh,
trick.
hey, I'm really, really sorry, but
Yeah.
I just can't control it. And yeah, let's just go ahead and end this period and get out of here. Very funny. Very funny.
Love it.
All right. JJ, thanks for sending the feedback. Was there anything else that he addressed? Oh, yeah. I knew that he was thinking about starting a podcast, and he asked for my help with that several months ago. And I said at the time that I was a little bit too busy to get into too much detail about it. But ring me up again, JJ, and see if I can help you, or maybe you got better advice from somebody else. But I've been doing the podcasting thing for a while, so. And I've just about figured it out. Not quite, but I'm getting there. All right, let's finish up with item number 15, Nick, from Stanimal. I enjoyed Captain Jeff's joke in a recent episode. Captain Nick was talking about his old friend, Bob, and I heard Jeff snickering. Is that your uncle? Nobody else reacted at the time, but I thought it was pretty funny. I did too. Thank you, Stan. I thought, wow, that went over like a lead balloon. Nobody even snickered or anything.
I think because of the time lapse, I was probably talking over you.
Yeah. Yeah, Liz heard it and she didn't laugh. But I didn't expect you to, because you were in the midst of explaining the whole thing about Bob and his podcast and everything else. So I don't blame you for not laughing.
But Liz has no excuse.
Liz, come on.
Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. Let me down. Not at me, Liz, with me.
With me.
Yeah, laugh with me. All right. So anyway, he says, following up on feedback from thank you, Stan, again, for thinking that was funny. I thought it was funny too. Following up on a feedback from a couple of years ago, I wanted to thank the APG crew and Stephen Ivy again for the discussion about deciding on a regional airline. After a year at SkyWest, I'm heading to training for the 747 at Atlas Air in a couple of months. It's been great to have APG syndrome throughout my training and career progression, to feel a part of the community, and to keep things in perspective, listening to the discussions of incidents and accidents. Thanks again, crew. Sincerely, Stan Call, and he calls himself Stanimal. He is
excellent.
An animal.
Yeah, it's very nice of you to say so.
Yeah, we do. We always appreciate nice things being said about what we try to do, as we mentioned facetiously.
Try being the operative word.
Try, and we try to be informative and give our reactions to and advice, and relate to our experiences and our long careers of flying for the airlines and the military. But it doesn't hurt at times to hear positive feedback from people, and the great thing about the Airline Pilot Guy show is the fact that at least 50%. 50% is a big number. That's our accuracy that we always strive for, is 50%. But 50% of the content of our show, we try to make it your content. The people that are listening to the show. So we want you to feel like this is as much your podcast as it is ours. In fact, it's probably more, because there are a lot more of you out there than the crew. So we're just a minority. We're the ones that talk all the time, but we get a lot of great feedback from y'all out there, and that's one of the things I think that we really have tried hard to make it a community show, not just a talking heads. This is what we did, and we're right about everything kind of show. We don't do that. I hope that you get that impression. And what I'm trying to say basically is thank you so much for being out there, not only listening to the show, supporting us financially, supporting us by sending us feedback, but also correcting us when we need to be corrected, which is probably more
a lot of the time.
Yeah, a lot of the time. We do try, to get it right the first time, but it's always pleasing to me when we get feedback from you saying, well, you didn't quite match or make that 50% guarantee, Jeff, and this is why. We love that. We actually do. So thanks so much for being a big part of what we do here. our wonderful audience. And with that, I think that maybe we should start our wrap up. And Nick, well, first of all, I'll make sure that you know, I'm sure you do, our website, Airline Pilot Guy, and you're going to see kind of a trend or a consistent theme here. Airline Pilot Guy, all one word, is the way that you can find us in a lot of different places, including our website. So that's a great place to go and learn more about the crew and the community and the, let's see, Plane Tales, more information, more detailed information there about that. We have an APG library if you're into reading some good books, mostly about aviation. Our librarian, Tiffany, works hard to manage that. Thank you, Tiff. And I hope she doesn't mind me calling her Tiff. I don't think I've ever done that before. Sorry. Yeah, she's in a Tiff and a tizzy. What else? We have information about, we have merchandise. If you want to get a Acme Airlines shirt, we need to probably create some new stuff out there, and
some nude stuff. Did you?
Nude stuff would be good too. Although that wouldn't require any merchandise, so we just take off whatever you're wearing, and that's it. APG sunscreen, that could be very helpful if you're not wearing any clothing. No judgment. Trust me, no judgment. And what else do we have over there on that website? We have the calendar, and we have the way you can contact us either individually, or if you're going to send feedback, we want you to use our feedback address, feedback@airlinepilotguy.com. So check it out. And Nick is going to tell you all about our social media presence, our social meds.
Yeah, we're pretty much there on Meta or Facebook. So just look for Airline Pilot Guy there. And on X or Twitter, as it used to be known, at APG Crew. And if you're into the Instas, which hasn't changed its name recently, APG Crew at.
There you go. And we, if you want to take a deeper dive into a quasi-social media thing, we can always ask our expert at Slack. His name is... Hello? Hello, could you tell us about Slack?
Okay, but I'm dripping wet.
I know, that's always his response when I ask him that question. That's weird. All right, well, come on over here and tell us all about it.
APG listeners, please join us on our Slack team. Slack is a communication, coordination, and sharing platform that works on your mobile, laptop, or browser. On Slack, we share news and ideas. We suggest episode and Plain Tales topics. We plan events and meetups. To get into the Slack team, please email me at slack@airlinepilotguy.com. That's SLACK, Sierra Lima Alpha Charlie Kilo @airlinepilotguy.com, or send me a tweet with your preferred email address to @Hillel, and I'll send you an invitation. That's Hillel, spelled Hotel India 11 Echo 1, and see you in Slack.
Thanks a lot, Hillel.
Where's the soap?
In the soap dish. I thought he was a smart man, but apparently, I don't know. Also, Liz, join us, please. Show yourself in front of everybody. Thank you so much for all the hard work that you do every week. And
My pleasure.
looking for the applause. Here we go. Applause button is activated. Thank you so much for all your hard work. We do appreciate it. A lot of things going on behind the scenes, folks. And Liz is a big part of it. So thank you very much for that. And anything else to say before we leave our recording for today? Okay. Well, we look forward to seeing you again. Hope you'll stick us in your ear, and we can share all kinds of fun aviation related stuff with you. And until then, wishing you clear skies, unlimited visibility, and tailwinds. Take care, and God bless.
How many times have you done that?
I don't know.
Hi,
I still
everybody.
can't get it right.
See you next time, everyone.
Well, that was smooth, huh?
Recorders off. Jeff, your recorder off.
I'm thinking maybe by the 600s.
As smooth as sandpaper.
I might
Through this sandpaper.
actually get on with. I don't know. It's probably going to get worse actually as I get older. I've already hit our peak.
So anybody in the chat got some title suggestions? I've got a few things here, Nick. I don't. Oh, there's. Is that Zeta?
Oh,
Zeta.
yeah, that's Zeta.
Oh, spoiled girl.
Oh, she is.
Hi, Zeta.
Yeah,
She can't hear you, sadly.
She's beautiful.
Yeah, very, very gorgeous dog. What do we got?
So,
here?
Nick, I've got a few suggestions for titles. See what
I've
you
got a
think.
type, Zeta. Off you go.
Okay,
right,
so
okay.
So you heard that one, Gynaeolators love foreplanes. Don't know what you do with it, but your
Gynaeolators.
Well, whatever your Gyna thing was, I can't remember.
Gynaeolators for
That tank thing, that name.
Gynaeolators
Love foreplanes.
Love
foreplanes.
Yeah, that's good.
Okay, there's one. The other one is
well, that would
yanking
be
and
one that people would go, what?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm pretty
next
much
one
going
is
with that one.
Yeah.
Yanking and plummeting. Yanking and plummeting.
Yanking and
Oh,
plummeting.
as opposed to yanking and banking.
Yeah, I guess. Then axe to grind, literally.
Yeah.
Well, that's good.
Yeah.
And then last but not least, this one made me laugh, but I don't know how you'd use it. I don't know. When Jeff said this, it made me laugh. Dial a flap. I don't know. I just love dial a flap. So I don't know
It's
how
really
you
a
illustrate
thing.
it.
It's really a thing.
Well, I know. Anybody else got any ideas?
Don't ask me how it works. I don't know. I'm really not sure.
That's all I got. That's all I got.
I could do a big telephone with flap settings
Exactly.
on it.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I like the Gynaeolator loves.
Well, we're never going to get that one again, are we?
No.
No, that's one time only.
Yep.
1-800 dial a flap.
I want to see what AI does with this one.
Oh God, no idea.
I Whole Boxes has 1-800 dial a flap.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, excellent.
Mm-hmm. Okay, everybody. Thanks for joining us today. This was a better time for you folks over in Europe, I think.
Not even 5 o'clock yet over here in the East Coast of the
Well, it's just coming up to 10, so that's
and
pretty
Nick can
good
get to bed in good time, which is great.
Indeed, I shall. That's marvelous.
We're sad that we weren't joined by our other hosts.
Yeah, we need to dock their pay, Jeff.
I'll have to
give
make a
it
note
to
of that.
me.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
All right.
Thanks,
And Liz.
Tanya. All right, everybody. We'll see you next time. Bye
Thanks,
for now.
guys, gals.
All right. Cheers,
Appreciate it.
everybody.
Hey, we love
Love
you.
you.